Big 12 Today with Ari and James. Monday through Friday, 8A to 11A Eastern Time. Your home for all things Big 12.
It's a new work week here on Big 12 Today on Big 12 Radio, powered by our friends at Modelo. Listening to us on TuneIn or the brand new and incredible Big 12 Conference app. Could be watching us on the Big 12 Fast Channel, Big 12 Studios. I'm James Westling. This man is Ari Timken. That man over there is T-Chains. Taman Turner producing on the audio side. Anthony Smith behind the camera on the video side. And T-Chains, can you bump my ear level just a pinch as we get off and rolling on this Monday morning? Here in about 15, what will the Big 12 be known for this football season? We know what the Big 12 is kind of known for, like it or not right now. But once the games actually kick off, what will this league be known for? Pete Nakos, the college football insider for On3, is later on this hour to break down the latest in the Sorsby stuff, all the stuff that's happening with the Protect College Sports bill, and so on and so on. But Ari, good morning. The color of choice today is olive green. We're both rocking the green tees. How are you?
I'm great, thank you. It's quite the observation you've made today. You're very astute in your observing. How was your trip down to the beach?
Oh, it was fantastic.
Nobody cares. Great. Awesome. Thanks for letting us know.
It was just, here's Galveston, Texas.
Just a gem of a city.
If New Orleans and Tampa had a baby, that baby's name would be Galveston, Texas.
Yeah,
It'd probably be hyphenated. It's maybe a little bit of two names into one. Galveston, Texas.
It's almost, I think that's giving a little bit too much credit, I'll be honest. It's almost as if Houston had a baby with a beach.
Now, when's the last time you guys were in Galveston?
It's been a while.
Mine was technically in December because I had my cruise.
That doesn't count.
But, I mean, New Orleans is one of the great food cities in America. So, New Orleans is not having a baby with anybody to make
Galveston is New Orleans light.
Only like the negative side of New Orleans.
Except without the food.
Without the food and the fun and the awesome people.
I will say, the trip,
with all due respect to Houstonians.
It's like I told my kids. Life is best with your toes in the sand and your expectations below sea level. Okay? We had a fantastic time.
Hey, you got to make your own fun sometimes.
Man, the ocean was great. The beach was great. There is some really cool, like...
It's not an ocean,
I knew
it's a
you
gulf.
were going to do that. The ocean knows, Ari, okay? Ask the ocean. But there's some really cool architecture there, like buildings that are over 200 years old that have kind of been revitalized. A bunch of property companies have come in and made over a lot of the beachfront properties. So, like, our Airbnb was super nice. Like you said on Friday before I left, Airbnbs always look nice on the pictures, which is so true. And then you get there, and in real life,
this one was nice?
This one actually was.
Nice.
Yeah, it was really nice. So we had a really good time just chilling. Had the phone off for about 3 days.
I could tell.
Ate whatever and just relaxed.
That's great.
My body is very sore.
Way to go. Sore body from all the bodybuilding you were doing on the beach?
Yeah, crushing some weights. Just fighting the current. When the current calls, you answer. My legs are sore. I'm not really sure why. My back hurts from hauling around a wagon for 3 straight days.
Oh.
But the fighting between the kids was minimal.
Got it.
Which is always a huge benchmark, as you know. So that was good. So, yeah, man, ready to get back after it.
Love it. I'm heading up to Lake of the Ozarks this weekend, dropping my kid off at camp. So for those paying attention, my wife and I have been kidless for the last 2 weeks.
How's that going?
I'll be honest, the house is kind of empty and quiet, and we both devastatingly miss them. So it should make when my oldest son goes away 2 weeks for camp very interesting. But we've been kind of cramming for everything to get packed for him to leave for camp for 2 weeks. So we're going to be driving him up there on Friday, staying there for Lake of the Ozarks for a couple of days. And we'll see how that goes. I'm going to go kind of incognito back into the state of Missouri, place that I'm not exactly welcome anymore. You know how it goes.
When was the last time you were in the state of Missouri, and why are you no longer welcome?
Well, it was actually not that long ago. It was during the Big 12 tournament in Kansas City. But
3 months.
But for some reason,
90 days.
they don't take too kindly to my Kansas type.
But you worked up there for a while.
I did, yes.
At the JUCO powerhouse of Moberly Community College.
Moberly Area Community
The
College.
pride of Mitch Richmond.
That's right. We also had don't forget about the Truman State Wildcats that were on our radio station back in those days. I think they're still Truman State.
Yeah.
The pride of Kirksville, Missouri.
Oh boy, I know it.
So yeah.
The Ozarks is beautiful. In terms of scenery, it's very much like the show Ozark,
Okay.
which is what makes it so great.
So it'll be easy for me to score meth.
Yeah,
Is that what you meant?
that's what you're into.
Yeah.
But in terms of nature and stuff, it's fantastic.
So on the Galveston scale, where 1 is exactly like Galveston and 10 would be the complete opposite.
Man, I'd probably put it at like a 6.
So not
The
that
only
close.
difference is a lot more water in Galveston, and Galveston actually has like a really cool kind of downtown shopping area with a bunch of like up-and-coming boutique shops, which was quite unexpected.
Yeah.
They have a boardwalk.
Love a good up-and-coming
Who
boutique
doesn't?
shop.
An ice cream shop on every other corner. But Ozarks, it's more just wide open nature. Lake, trees.
Mountains?
That's it. Hills.
Ish.
I'd say hills.
Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty. You get into some windy roads back there. Have you ever been to the Ozarks?
Never.
You worked in Missouri. You were just a stone's throw.
I was in North Missouri.
Ah.
It's quite a stone's throw, if you will.
Dude, it's gorgeous. I think you'll really like it.
Yeah. No, looking forward to it.
Are you cutting up through like Fayetteville and Bentonville and all those other Arkansas towns to get there? I think you will.
Okay.
And if you do, that's a gorgeous part of the
I
country.
love how you're asking me like I've plotted out on a map where I'm going. I'm just going to put the address of the hotel we're staying at into my Google Maps, and it's going to take me there.
Galveston Gary doesn't do technology. We do atlases.
It's actually a really good move. The other day I was using Google Maps to go somewhere, and it had me go like 3 miles the opposite direction before I had to turn around to go the right direction.
I used to be obsessed with a good old-fashioned atlas.
Oh, yeah. Oh, when I first started driving, like it's funny how our generation, we sort of straddle, the digital world with the old analog world. And so it's like we kind of grew up in a digital world with America Online and some of these like new age digital pieces. But for the most part, like you and I grew up in an analog world like a lot of other older people. And so, I remember first started driving, you had to have like maps in your car and atlases. People at that point were like just starting to get Garmins, but not everybody had a Garmin.
Nope. When I was in college, we drove 16 hours with an atlas. Didn't get lost one time.
Where'd you drive?
To Auburn, Alabama. We took in the K-State Auburn game.
Wow, what happened?
And then it was a really good game. Went down to the wire. Auburn got a couple calls, obviously, in case they lost. Then we stopped in Nashville on the way back, had a 4-day adventure of our lives. Atlas, K-State rental car. They don't do that anymore. But it was amazing. And now I always see my daughter, looking at Google Earth or the Apple Maps, whatever comes with the phone. She's just hunting around. I'm like, we used to have an atlas back in my day. Dolphins don't sleep.
Did you watch any World Cup action this weekend?
No.
You were cooped up by the beach. You had no time to be
Dude, we
watching
didn't turn on the
soccer.
TV one time. We turned on the
Wow.
TV one time to play music.
Oh, okay. Well, the soccer was spectacular.
Tell
The
me
U.S.
about it.
looked great.
We did see one of the World Cup teams being escorted
Oh,
to, I don't think it would have been an actual match, maybe practice or a scrimmage, because it would have been on Thursday in Houston. So that was pretty exciting for everybody in the vehicle.
it's my favorite part about what's happening with the World Cup right now is to see other cultures experience America for the first time. So there's like a guy from Germany that's going viral for his experiences. Right now, I'm beginning to think he's just an AI bot from Germany, but I digress. But how about, did you hear about in Dallas at, of course, classic Dallas Stadium in Arlington, Texas, as everybody knows it to be called, Dallas Stadium. They had the first game, it was Japan and the Netherlands. Great game. Netherlands was up 1-0. Japan tied it. Netherlands went up 2-1. Japan tied it. They both get a point. Huge opportunity there for Japan, but it was the Japanese fans that stayed after the game to clean up the stadium. Normally I've spent many nights, deep into the evening at AT&T Stadium after calling Cowboys games, and you see, basically homeless people that are paid to clean up the stadium following games. Like that across stadiums in America. But in Japan, I guess they clean up. They're a little bit cleaner than Americans are. So all these Japanese fans, there's videos of them all staying after and just like going row by row cleaning up. In fact, Jameis Winston, who was there as working for Fox's broadcast team, he was seen in a Japanese jersey cleaning up with the Japanese fans after the game.
Wait,
classic.
Jameis Winston?
Jameis Winston.
Part of the broadcast team for the World Cup?
He's kind of doing like what Snoop Dogg did at the Olympics years ago, if you remember, where they've given him a mic and a camera, and he's just going around doing Jameis Winston things.
Perfect for that.
He's perfect for that.
I don't know if we need him breaking down soccer.
No. That's exactly what it is. So here he is. Like, they showed him. There's all these Japanese fans with, like, garbage bags. I mean, it's incredible. And, like, they're showing this. These are just all walking through. There's Jameis Winston.
Man, what a guy. How do you not like this guy?
He's got his Fox microphone. He's holding his Fox microphone, and he's carrying trash. It's amazing.
The guy you're talking about that's going viral from Germany is just enamored by all of the stadiums that we have here.
Yes.
And he just keeps highlighting all of these stadiums all across America. These stadiums are massive. I've never seen any, which is probably true. Like, Wembley Stadium is what London is known, or the UK is known for. It seats 30,000? So they haven't seen 100, 150 seat capacity, giant metropolis type stadiums like we have here in America.
Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, and those are almost standard now with where these games are being played. It's pretty remarkable. But it's interesting to see kind of like which Americans embrace it and are excited about it and are having fun with it and which aren't. But it does seem like, it's just not that important here.
Dude, my old barber spent time in Japan, and he said that so I was thinking about what you just showed me with their cleaning up after the match. Everything in Japan is spotless.
Right. No, this is why. Culturally, it's just totally different.
Yep.
Whereas you go to a stadium in America and it's a cesspool after a game.
Totally. It's like Bourbon Street. But they're also super quiet and respectful of their peers. Like he said, their transportation system, their equivalent of the subway, spotless, number one, and quiet. Like you could hear a pin drop in there. Nobody utters a word. He said, you get off the plane, you walk into the airport, and it's like a library. Just the craziest thing ever.
Yeah, it's quite a difference in America versus Japan. It's amazing to see cultural differences there.
So what will the Big 12 be known for? Super excited to dive into that.
Right, and you think about this, James, real quick, sorry to cut you off there, but 2024 was the year of the running backs. The Big 12 had 7 running backs drafted in the 2025 draft after the 2024 season. 7 running backs drafted. Just an insane number. 2025 we thought was going to be the year of the quarterback. It still might have been. I think statistically it might not have been, but when you think about the 3 biggest transfer portal quarterbacks, all being Big 12 quarterbacks, and Sorsby, Levitt, and Hoover, maybe it was more a year of a quarterback last year than the stats would indicate. So the question is, it's a lot less obvious this year what this will be the year of in the Big 12.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
Maybe it's the year of the defense. Maybe it'll be the actual year of the quarterback.
See, I think, big picture nationally, last year was maybe the year of the linebacker because of what Jacob Rodriguez was
good
doing.
point.
The 2 linebackers at BYU, Caleb Elam-Zor, and had 150 tackles at TCU.
Great point.
But let's the College World Series. I need some help.
Okay.
So I know West Virginia and Troy will play an elimination game tomorrow.
Correct.
Because West Virginia beat Troy on Friday, and then they lost to North Carolina, which why is Eric Church the biggest celebrity at the West Virginia-North Carolina game? Like Springsteen, some other place. Okay, we don't need that. North Carolina got the Mountaineers yesterday. So is this to go from 8 to 4, that elimination game?
Ish. So I don't know how else to explain it, but basically it's eventually yes. Yeah, correct. Yes.
So we will go from 8 to 4 eventually.
Yeah.
It doesn't jump from like 8 to 2, right?
No, correct.
Okay.
Yeah. No. We'll eventually have a Final Four. So, it's always hard because you have to lose twice. So
Right.
if you lose, you play again, and then if you lose again, you're out. But if you win, you keep playing. But once you lose, you're out. So like Troy beat Ole Miss, who's out now.
Ole Miss is out.
So North Carolina beat Ole Miss.
And then Troy
West Virginia
beat
beat
Ole Miss.
Troy. So Troy and Ole Miss play. Ole Miss is out. Now Troy, who's already lost, plays the other team that just lost, West Virginia, who obviously just beat them. So if Troy and West Virginia win, then the winner plays. Then I think it switches, so you don't play them again.
Right.
So then it would be. So on the other side, it's Georgia, Oklahoma. Those are the two winners, and Alabama, Texas. So Alabama, Texas play at a elimination game today. Whoever wins that one plays the loser of Georgia, Oklahoma. Whoever wins that, like there's a switch over then. The winner plays the loser. So.
Really good job of breaking that down.
I don't think I did I?
So West Virginia and Troy each have a loss. And then on the other side, Texas and Alabama.
If West Virginia beats Troy, they would then play the winner of the Georgia-Oklahoma game who beats the loser of Alabama-Texas.
Got it. So they wouldn't have to, beat North Carolina twice.
Correct. I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly, they switch them.
Got it. And then the loser of that game would be eliminated. The winner would be down to
champ series.
essentially what is the Final Four
The champ series.
between two schools.
Yep.
Okay. Got it.
It just doesn't make any sense to you, does
so
it?
A little bit. I think it does.
If West Virginia loses
has
to
some
Troy
work
tomorrow,
do.
yeah.
They've got some work to do.
If West Virginia loses to Troy tomorrow, they're out.
Step one is you've got to beat Troy.
Yes.
And then to stay alive, you've got to beat somebody twice because you've still got Oklahoma, Georgia, and UNC with no losses.
Yeah, I might have screwed it up. It might just be that they play North Carolina and have to beat them twice
We're going to find out.
instead of switching over.
We are going to find out.
I feel like I remember that used to be
This
the
actually
case.
makes me feel a lot better that you didn't really know either.
I mean,
You played it off like you knew, and I respect
I do know.
it. I do know.
Yeah.
I do know. He knows. And we're going to find out. All right, coming up next here on Big 12 today, what will the Big 12 be known for in football in 2026? Running backs 2 years ago, maybe quarterbacks, maybe linebackers last year. What's 2026 going to be all about? He's Ari, I'm James. This is Big 12 Radio. We are powered by Modelo, and you're watching us on Big 12 Studios and listening to us on TuneIn.
Jackson's in trouble now. David Bailey, he is a sack machine.
Back inside Big 12 today here on Big 12 Radio, powered by Modelo. He's Ari Timken. I'm James Westling. We did confirm during the commercial break that West Virginia, basically, they have to win 4 in a row. They've got to beat Troy tomorrow, and then they have to beat North Carolina back-to-back. I guess it's 3 in a row to get to the finals.
Right. And then I think it resets.
And then it resets.
Yeah.
Correct. It's a best-of-3 championship series.
Didn't take us that long to figure this out.
No, we got it.
Just one quick break, and suddenly we got it.
Easy breakdown.
Easy peasy.
Pete Nakos is with us here in about 15, the On3 college football reporter. Only 11 more Saturdays until the college football season is upon us. We have our consensus later on. Are you counting?
11.
11. You got to 6 and you just stopped. Hard stop. Like, I think we're done with that.
Kind of the
Too
bit
much
kind of.
mathing on a Monday.
It's way too much mathing.
So we'll talk to Pete here in a few. All right. Does the Big 12 I don't think the Big 12 has an identity crisis by any means, but the Big 12's identity for 2026 is definitely unknown. New coaches, new rosters, high-level transfers coming in. As you noted last segment, high-level transfers at the quarterback position headed elsewhere. CBS Sports has the top 10 position groups. Nationally, it features 0 Big 12 teams. So, your thoughts, what will the Big 12's identity be this season?
Well, I mean, based on all of the work we've done so far in this offseason, and we've done a bunch of series, taking a look at the top 5 newcomers at every position, taking a look at the top 5 players at every position, taking a look at the road to Arlington, a deep dive for every single Big 12 team. Now the consensus here. Are there any position groups that stand out in terms of major strengths?
Collectively, yes.
Or just in general? Like, oh, you know what? Now that I think about it, there were a lot of good defenses. Or, maybe the deeper you look, the quarterback position is actually really good. Or this could be the year of the running back again for the Big 12. Kind of a return to what it was 2 years ago.
So the two that stand out for me, wide receiver rooms, number one. You've got NFL dudes walking in to the Tempe, Arizona football facility at Arizona State.
Yeah.
Reed Harris and Omarion Miller. And then I think Texas Tech's wide receivers are super underrated. Micah Hudson is poised for a breakthrough season. Former 5-star, was wideout number 1 in their spring game. Kenny Johnson he's a future pro, the transfer from Pitt. And then outside of that, I look at the Colorado wide receiver room. They've added the nation's leading receiver,
Scudero,
from San Jose State. So collectively, that was my first thought. Then my second thought was maybe not like quarterbacks in terms of the traditional sense, future NFL players, right? Drew Mestemaker is the only one that's projected to be a first or second round pick. But what about dual threat quarterbacks, where the Big 12 has an edge over the rest of the country? Devin Dampier at Utah, nearly 1,000 yards last year. Avery Johnson at Kansas State is still maybe the fastest player in this league. He's the fastest player on K-State's team. Colin Klein is set to unleash him. And then whether it's Sorsby or Hammond at Texas Tech, they're both very capable runners. Sorsby was maybe more dangerous with his legs than he was with his arm. DJ Lagway, even with all that weight, still runs like a 4.65. And then Bear Bachmeier at BYU. So that's the one, like, where could the Big 12 have a market inefficiency, tremendous value position? I look at the dual threat capabilities at the quarterback.
One of the reasons I was thinking about this was, James, because out of the most experienced defenses in college football, the Big 12 has 4 of them, including Texas Tech, Oklahoma State at 3, UCF at 8, and Kansas at 10. This is basically either returning production or players that entered through the portal that have experience. So I love your take on quarterbacks. I think you're exactly right, and that this year maybe has a better opportunity to be the year of the quarterback, more so than last year, even though last year may have ended up being that without looking like it, is probably the best way to say it. But I wonder if defense is the question. Is this the year of defense in the Big 12?
Was it the year of defense last year? I would argue yes. BYU was very much carried by their defense. They had a true freshman quarterback. Who could blame them?
Texas Tech.
Texas Tech had the best run stuff rate in the entire country last season. And there were other defenses that were solid. Houston was solid. Arizona was solid. They churned out a bunch of NFL players from their secondary. But I think the skill position guys, whether it's at wide receiver or the quarterbacks that can break down defenses with their legs. I forgot about Connor Wegman at Houston and Keyshawn Henderson, who's going to be on the field in some capacity. Maybe not every game, but they're going to figure out a way to work him in with certain packages because he's just way too fast and athletic. Noah Fafita's got a little dual threat to his game. The Barnett kid who comes in from UCF from James Madison. Jalen Rayner. And
if Isaiah Marshall starts at Kansas.
That was the other one. Or the Jenkins transfer from Rice, or even
Avery Johnson.
You look at the other quarterbacks. CJ Carr's getting a ton of hype. Dante Moore's getting a ton of hype. Arch Manning at Texas. Those guys are future pros. Yes, there's not a player in the Big 12 at that position that's going to eclipse those guys in terms of where they're going to be selected by the NFL. But those are more like traditional pro-style offenses that they're quarterbacking where they don't use their legs like these guys in the Big 12.
Well, and going back to the defense, though, when you have 4 defenses in the top 10 of experienced defense, and that doesn't even include BYU, I mean, again, Texas Tech 1, Oklahoma State 3, UCF 8, Kansas 10. That does not include BYU, who's a team that you'd expect to be on that list based on what they returned from last season. Now, some of these teams, UCF, Kansas, Texas Tech, are breaking in kind of Oklahoma State. In fact, UCF may be the one that's not breaking as many new players as the other 3 are. But these are guys that are experienced players that can understand how to play in different defenses. So if you look at 5 top, 25 defenses potentially in the Big 12, I just kind of threw up a number there and say top 25. But we'll see, out of the 4 that have these experienced players, I think UCF should have a good defense. Kansas is a team that could potentially have a good defense after having a really bad defense last year. I expect Texas Tech to be very good on defense. And Oklahoma State's kind of an interesting X factor here.
In Oklahoma State,
we've talked so much about the offense at Oklahoma State. It's shocking to see that they're on this list for experienced defenses.
Yeah, that's the biggest surprise to me. And it magnifies the experience that Eric Morris has brought in on the defensive side of the football. And that's not even taking the offense and Mestemaker and Caleb Hawkins at running back and Wyatt Young at receiver. They plucked the number 1 wide receiver from Illinois last season who had nearly double-digit touchdowns. He's 6'5", 220. He's a future pro. It could be the defense for Oklahoma State that we're overlooking. The other, I would love to see returning production numbers going into last season because it used to matter a ton. The year that Kansas had their breakthrough 9-win season 3 years ago, they were the number 1 returning experienced roster in the country. But that was pre-NIL, pre-portal era. That was really the last season before the transfer portal was just completely wheels off, which is why Oklahoma State the very next year, after they played in a Big 12 championship game, they were top 3 nationally in returning production. And they went 3-9. Yeah,
the portal is absolutely having an impact. The average returning production for power conferences fell from 65% in 2024 to 59% in 2025. And 5 of the 9 lowest totals of the metrics since 2022 came from the 2025 class. So the portal is exactly accelerating the roster churn that you're talking about. Now, I will say there is a correlation here, for the most part, between returning experience and success, but it's not as much of a straight line correlation as it used to be.
Mm-hmm. Totally. The other thing I'm really excited about for this season are the new coaches. The brand new coaches that are in year 1, and then the new-ish coaches that are in year 2. Because we saw the breakthrough from Brennan and Fritz last year. That could be Rich Rod at West Virginia this year. He's got the pedigree. Could be Scott Frost at UCF. Or it could be one of these first-year coaches in Colin Klein at Kansas State, who's very offensive-minded. The season before he was calling the plays in Manhattan, K-State was outside the top 75 nationally. The year that he called the plays in 2023, they were top 25 offense. Eric Morris, we know his track record with quarterbacks, explosive offenses. So I could see it really going either way, where the defenses, because they're more experienced, maybe have the edge the first 5 or 6 weeks of the season, but then you get into like October and November, and these offenses are humming in this league.
Yeah, well, and I love your point about not just the quarterback and this being potentially the year of the quarterback, but the year of the dual-threat quarterback. I mean, again, like you mentioned this, but Noah Fafita, Connor Wegman, Devin Dampier, Avery Johnson, Bear Bachmeier. You didn't even mention Julian Lewis.
Yeah.
DJ Lagway, two other guys that should very well be dual-threat factors in this. So I think you might be onto something with that. Now, ultimately, this conversation was extremely easy the last 2 years to have. It was obvious. We didn't even almost need a segment to discuss because it was so obvious that running back was going to be a huge strength of the Big 12 in 2024, and that we thought quarterback would be in 2025. So this year, the fact that it's sort of up in the air, like, well, it could be defense, this could be wide receiver, it could be quarterback, maybe it's dual-threat quarterbacks, I think sort of speaks to the questions around the league this year, and that maybe this is not something that will either, one, be apparent, or two, be obvious from the start. Meaning, like, there might not be an actual strength of the Big 12 because there's so many strengths across the board, or it won't be obvious what that strength is until we get into the season.
All right, if I use the word crisis, identity crisis, where are the position groups that you're most concerned about? Too many unknowns, retention rates low.
Running back?
Okay.
Feels like a lot of teams are counting on transfers at running back, with Texas Tech being the exception to that. I mean, you've got a bunch of new players, right? I mean, West Virginia's got a new running back. Kansas has new running backs. Oklahoma State, like, just start to take them off, right? Like, there's UCF. Feels like there's just a lot of new at that position, and that's been a huge strength for the Big 12. I think running back would be the biggest one that stands out.
Yeah.
What about you?
Offensive line.
Yeah.
You lose
Yeah.
3 guys in the first round to the NFL with Ahanichor at Arizona State, Lomu and Fano from Utah. And the Big 12, I think, held its own, I would say. Didn't crush it, but held its own when it came to the portal and the offensive linemen that the league has brought in. But a lot of these guys were group of 5 or group of 6 transfers, produced at a very high level. But Shadre Hurst from Tulane, the Toledo transfer who's now starting at there's one starting at Houston, there's another starting at Baylor. You're bringing in guys from the MAC and the American. Can they hold their own at this level? Not just in Big 12 play, but also,
Right.
this is a huge benchmark season for the league to win a game or have multiple teams in. Either one, I think, would be tremendous in the college football playoff. We saw what happened last year with Texas Tech. Can't happen again. All right, he's Ari Timken. I'm James Westling. This is Big 12 Today on Big 12 Radio. We chat with Pete Nakos, the college football national reporter. He is the insider. He just spent some time talking with the guys down in Houston. We'll touch on that and much, much more. That's coming up next here on Big 12 Radio. We are brought to you by our friends at Modelo.
Jackson in the backfield. He'll get the carry. Bounce it left side, and now a big gain across the 40 to midfield and still going.
Back inside Big 12 today here on Big 12 Radio, brought to you the full-time fan by Modelo here on Big 12 Studios and Big 12 Radio exclusively on TuneIn with Ari Timken. I'm James Westling, and we welcome in Pete Nakos from On3, the college football insider. And Pete, before we dive into the Protect College Sports Act bill, the Sorsby stuff, you spent some time with Connor Wegman, the Houston quarterback. We have, I wouldn't say expectations, but high hopes for what Houston could look like this season. What were some of your takeaways from that conversation?
Yeah, I just think Connor Wegman is so comfortable in who he is right now. And I don't think that was the Connor Wegman that, existed at Texas A&M. Just a lot of confidence about what 2026 can look like, working with the same offensive coordinator. Houston put together a heck of a transfer portal class, so he's excited about that. And I think the Cougars are, they're definitely going to be able to contend in the Big 12, or do they want a Big 12 title? I mean, I think we'll find out. But they definitely have the roster and the talent to be a legitimate contender.
Yeah, and they're such an interesting story, Pete, from the standpoint of, there's decently high expectations for them, and maybe not outside, but from, like, inside the Big 12, like, they're going to be good. And, I mean, you think about his career, this is a big year for his potential NFL career. And then, of course, there's the Keyshawn Henderson part. And that is, there's the number one player in the country out of high school stepping in as a true freshman, and he's not threatening to take snaps yet, but, it's certainly you struggle at all, and suddenly people might be calling for him. So I just think there are a lot of interesting subplots to the season for Wegman, aside from, all the other stuff.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. And we talked about that Texas Tech game week 3 too. He's got that one circled, and it's kind of the high, not the highlight of their season, but one of the really big tests to see how they're going to stack up in the Big 12.
All right, Pete, so markup is this week for the Protect College Sports Act. There was a letter from the NCAA that was sent to commissioners and how it could relate to Brendan Sorsby. What can you tell us about what was in that letter and what it could mean for the sport?
In terms of the Protect College Sports Act, I mean, it's a big week for it. It's important to see what kind of amendment changes are tried to, be put through. Currently, the Big Ten and SEC don't support it. And could amendment changes, sway support? Possibly, but from conversations I've had, I don't think senators are going to change language about pooling media rights and things like that. So, that's kind of that. In terms of all the letters and stuff being sent, I mean, it's notable. I also would tell you, I don't think it's the most important thing in the world right now.
What's your read on this bill and maybe what the sticking points could be?
In terms of, like, if it gets through, or like what I could see change in it this week?
I guess both, because, it's we've had so far, every bill that's come through has had, party lines that have been very difficult to overcome from the other side. So, I guess, like, are there things here that might get changed and could allow this thing to pass?
I think in its current form, it has a good chance to pass. I'm just saying that, right now the Big Ten and SEC obviously are not the biggest supporters of it. So there's that. We'll see how markup goes this week, and it could end up on the Senate floor for a vote sooner rather than later. I think the big thing is just, does it have the support in the Senate to be voted on and put through? I think that's the big question right now. And obviously it's June 15th, and the summer recess is the first week of August, so we're on like a 6-week, kind of clock, give or take. So, but Senators Maria Cantwell and Ted Cruz have clearly made it a top priority in terms of legislation this summer for them.
Talking with Pete Nakos from On3 here on Big 12 Radio. So what impact has the Brendan Sorsby case had on the Protect College Sports Act, and has that moved the needle, in your opinion, in terms of the chances that it does or doesn't get passed?
I mean, the NCAA clearly supports it, the bill right now, and they've been even more vocal about it recently because of the Brendan Sorsby decision and how they feel like the legislation could protect them. At the same time, too, there's supposed to be a discussion today among the Big 12 board about Brendan Sorsby. We'll see how that goes. I don't think Brendan Sorsby is the reason why why not the Protect College Sports Act would get put through, but obviously, the decision and his eligibility in court comes at an interesting time when the NCAA is trying to get some stuff done on Capitol Hill. That's for sure.
Pete, I'm curious for kind of your thoughts right now on the Sorsby situation. Texas Tech had the 22-minute video that, really became a huge story last Friday. What's kind of the latest on the reaction from the Big 12 and college football at large to what's happening with Texas Tech?
It's tenuous right now. I think that's the right word to use. I'm trying to use my dictionary here. But it's as of right now, I fully expect Brendan Sorsby to play football this fall. I'll say that much, and we'll see if the Big 12 actually sanctions Texas Tech or not, or what kind of steps or measures could be taken. Obviously, we've all seen that Texas Tech has made clear that they're happy to go to the courtroom over potential sanctions. I think that the Sorsby decision just comes at such an interesting juncture for college sports. And we can get on here and talk for 2 hours about how the NCAA is dead or something like that. But I just think that it's definitely testing college sports. The reality is, though, too, is that he went to court and won, and he delivered a succinct, argument, and he won his lawsuit, and got the injunction. And for the foreseeable future, I think that's going to be the case. And we'll see how many teams actually try to not play Texas Tech and things like that. But obviously the outrage has continued from other parts of the college athletics world, from the Big Ten to the SEC to the ACC. I fully expect Brendan Sorsby to play football this fall. But at the same time, we still have 10 weeks, 11 weeks, 12 weeks to get there. So I don't know, never say never, but I fully expect them to play.
Well, and Pete, you noted that other conferences, this is impacting them too. Like at Clemson, they had a receiver who was granted a temporary injunction, making him eligible to play this season. And the judge mentioned the recent Brendan Sorsby ruling in her decision to grant that injunction. So what type of do you think we could see more cases, situations like that where the Sorsby ruling has impacted the sport in that way?
I mean, maybe. It's also a tough time of year because so many of the guys that maybe wanted to go down that path are probably in the NFL right now and have just moved on with their careers. I think it's important to note, too, that judge did mention Brendan Sorsby, but it also wasn't the crux of the reason why that the Tristan Smith, the Clemson wide receiver, got the injunction to play. So it's interesting. Obviously, the fact that Brendan Sorsby got mentioned in another injunction on the same week that he got his, and obviously the NCAA is going to point to it and say this is why we need legislation. Like, that's great marketing, I guess, for the NCAA on Capitol Hill. But I don't know if we're going to see like a wide swath of new lawsuits and stuff like that from across college sports. There is obviously, I think we forget about it because we get so caught up in other things, but there is that Pavia versus NCAA suit right now that a lot of former junior college athletes are paying attention to and are defendants in. And if the Pavia, if the Pavia wins that, it's really not Pavia, but it's all the other athletes under the Pavia branch win that, then I mean that'd be a big blow to the NCAA and let a lot of college athletes play this year.
Can you expand on that? What is on the table and what it would mean if it went through?
Yeah, what you have going on is clearly it dates back to like October in terms of this Pavia lawsuit, and it's expanded into a class action, and it's saying that junior college eligibility years shouldn't count to the college years, and under Division I.
Okay, awesome stuff. Pete Nakos, the On3 college football insider, joining us here on Big 12 today on Big 12 Radio. Pete, great to catch up as always. We are so grateful for your time, and thank you for your coverage.
Yep, you bet. Thanks, man. Have a good one.
Always fun. Thanks, Pete.
Pete Nakos from On3 joining us here on Big 12 today on Big 12 Radio. The Texas Tech leadership team released a 20-minute video really answering their own questions on Brendan Sorsby. That happened on Friday. And then you've got the Oklahoma Attorney General saying he supports the Big 12, is prepared to fight with the Big 12 if it comes to that point. That's kind of the latest on the Sorsby situation.
Yeah, I mean, where you left off Thursday, we came in Friday, and the Attorney General of the state of Texas had threatened the Big 12 with a lawsuit if they had sanctioned Texas Tech or Sorsby, and then Jeffrey Kessler said the same thing. So it's becoming tenuous. We'll see if the Big 12 has made a decision yet this week, but certainly Texas Tech is forcing their hand a bit here. And look, we've talked a ton about how the Big 12 is in a very harmonious position, and it's very unique to that across college sports, that there's very much a all-for-one, one-for-all mentality amongst the group, and everybody seems to agree, and there's a lot of agreement. And this flies in the face of that. Obviously, you've got 15 athletic directors and programs on one side who feel one way about this situation, and then Texas Tech on the other side. So it's very tenuous for a conference that's had uniformity and unity across the board when it comes to these things.
Mm-hmm. When I think about Sorsby, the player, one angle, like Texas Tech fans are very much supportive of Brendan Sorsby being their quarterback starting week 3. But how did Texas Tech fans feel about Behren Morton down the stretch of the season? Behren Morton in the college football playoff. Nobody's talking about the hypothetical or the possibility that Brendan Sorsby might not be a Heisman caliber quarterback when he steps on the field. How do Texas Tech fans receive him if he's an average quarterback? Or when he throws his first interception? Or when he misses a wide open receiver 20 yards down the field? A strip sack. Like Behren Morton in Big 12 games, Behren Morton had better numbers. Completion percentage, Morton. Yards, Morton. Passing touchdowns, +9, Morton. Interceptions, almost dead even. Morton had one more pick than Sorsby. And Behren Morton was the problem for Texas Tech down the stretch.
Yeah, you're right. It's pretty wild.
Like, they love him now.
No, it's a great point.
How are they going to feel about him when he goes 15 for 35 and has a bad game?
It's a great point, right? I mean, he hasn't thrown a pass yet, so Tech fans love him. How will your support be if he's not playing to the level that the expectation is? And by the way, those expectations are pretty high, given how much they're paying and given how much the headache has been for this season. And look, there are a lot of Texas Tech fans that don't want Sorsby to play. So the mix of fans, there's a ton of pressure here on Brendan Sorsby for obvious reasons. And this is a big reason why I think Texas Tech's not going to have as good of a year this year. Mm-hmm. Too much drama.
Speaking of drama, coming up next, it is the consensus. We are ranking every Big 12 team 1 through 16. So we've done 16, 15. Who will be slotted at number 14? Frankly, this isn't a place you want to be coming into the season. We've got our 14th ranked team in this conference, and we make our case for why. Coming up next, he's Ari, I'm James. This is Big 12 Radio.
And a
Modelo fan rule number 31, there is no off-season. The off-season only means research, which is what we do between the white lines each and every day here on Big 12 Today on Big 12 Radio. We had our Road to Arlington series. We looked at all 16 schools, talked with coaches and players and how they could potentially get to Arlington. Now we've transitioned into the consensus where we are ranking each and every Big 12 team 1 through 16. So Ari has put together a list. I have put together a list. We have sent it to our producers, Taman and Anthony. We have not seen each other's. Today we are at team number 14. We both had Cincinnati and Iowa State at 16 and 15, just flipped. At number 14, do we have a consensus? We'll find out in the next half hour who is your 14th ranked team in the Big 12.
This is where I have my Jayhawks. I have my Jayhawks at 14 after a 5-7 season last year, back-to-back 5-7 seasons. You do bring back Andy Kotelnicki, so we'll talk about what's changed for Kansas and maybe we'll reason for optimism, but this was a very bad defense that made mistakes on offense at inopportune moments despite having statistically a very good offense. Who do you have at 14, my friend?
I have the Baylor Bears. Also 5-7 last year in Big 12 play. Overall, I should say. They went 3-6 in Big 12 play. Year 7 for Dave Aranda, who's very much on the hot seat. They tied for 11th in the conference, and they had their third losing season in the last 4 years. A lot had to change, and a lot has changed, but they were a preseason pick by many to maybe win the league and be in Arlington. Hand up, this guy, guilty as charged. I have the Baylor Bears.
Okay, so let me ask you this. Do you have Kansas at 13?
I don't remember.
Okay.
I don't think so, actually.
Okay, so you had Kansas significantly higher than where I had them.
I'm a little bit significantly, yeah, maybe.
Okay.
A little bit higher.
And I'm now trying to remember where I had Baylor because I had them probably much higher than you have them. All right, so let's get to consensus here. So which one should be 14? Should it be Baylor or should it be Kansas?
What's changed for Kansas?
31 new transfers, 12 early enrollees. Kansas lost 25 players to the portal following this 25 season. That is a significant number for a program under Lance Leipold that had lost the least amount of players in the portal over his tenure. Now, the reason for optimism is Andy Kotelnicki, the offensive coordinator, returns. At 2 seasons at Penn State, his offense has led the country in first downs and explosive plays over 10 yards. He helped Penn State reach a CFP semifinal. His 3 Kansas seasons produced 2 of the 3 highest-scoring offenses in program history at 35.6 points per game in 22 and 34.8 in 2023. His return is the single biggest offseason move, obviously. They bring in Dylan Edwards. They overhaul their entire running back room. They also have a brand-new quarterback as Jalen Daniels is gone. So who's going to start at quarterback there remains a huge question mark. And then on defense, what's changed on defense? They might be improved, but they need to be improved. They were horrible last year defensively. They were 95th overall, gave up 409 points, 409 yards per game. 409 points per game would be insane. Allowed 184 rushing yards per game, generated only 1.9 sacks per game. So I think what's changed, DK McDonald is still the defensive coordinator. He's back for year 2, but they did add Jabril Conde, the number 1 rated defensive lineman in the transfer portal on 3 away from Wisconsin. Plus, they also added Eamon Smalls, the UAB defensive tackle, who joined the interior of their defensive line. What's changed for Baylor?
Yeah, the biggest thing for Baylor is, I think, defensively bringing in Joe Klanderman, the defensive coordinator from Kansas State. Matt Powledge is out. He's going to be the defensive coordinator for North Texas this season because Baylor ranked 87th last season in total defense, and there was only one other team in college football that had a worse turnover margin than Baylor. And on paper, Sawyer Robertson was the second leading passer in the entire country. But I'll say it, a lot of that was garbage yards. When they were down late in games, his second half passing numbers were through the roof because they're down by 3 or 4 touchdowns. So he's off to the NFL. They bring in DJ Lagway, former 5-star out of Florida, struggled last year with turning the ball over. That's a major red flag. But 2 years ago, as a true freshman, he was 3rd in the country in deep ball passing efficiency. So there's potential for Baylor to be more explosive offensively, hopefully earlier in games. And then you brought up the portal numbers for Kansas. Baylor also loses over 30 players. 32 players out via the transfer portal. Colton Price, their best offensive lineman, goes to Kentucky. Their best edge rusher, Matthew Fobbs-White, goes to Virginia. They lose a safety to Florida. They lose Bryson Washington, their bell cow running back, to Auburn. And Keaton Thomas. He was their one consistent piece defensively at linebacker. He's off to Ole Miss. So roster turnover is high. Aranda's back. Still has Spavital calling the plays, but a new defensive coordinator. And that defense is going to look very, very different because Clanderman runs like a 4-2-5 hybrid that's very bend but don't break, but they feast on takeaways.
Well, and it's interesting, too, for us to be discussing these two teams in our consensus today because very similar. Both coming off 5-7 seasons last year. Both put up really good numbers on offense, but sort of hollow numbers. Had way too many turnovers, and both could not stop anybody on defense. So how much improved should both of these defenses be, and can offensively both of these teams pick up where they left off last year because both were good offensively?
All right, roster construction grade. What's your grade that you give Kansas?
I would give Kansas a C. They added 31 transfers, and some of those are legitimate, Big 12 caliber players. You mentioned Conde earlier, but they return only 2 full-time starters to the offensive line with one additional player carrying multi-game experience. So there's a thin foundation there with a brand new quarterback. And their offense is basically entirely new. Jalen Daniels is gone. Most of their offensive line is gone. Their running back room is completely different. Their wide receiver room is completely different. Wentz and Henderson, they're gone. And then, defensively, KU returns more players, but that's a bad defense last year. They returned 52.8% of their tackles from last year and 48.68% of its tackles for losses, but they were 95th nationally in total defense. So basically nobody's back on offense. Half of their defensive production is back, but it wasn't a ton of good production. They do add Trayvon McAlpine from Tulane along with Conde and Smalls, their defensive line. So I do think that there's some reason for optimism, especially on defense, which is the reason I gave them the C, but maybe not enough. And especially on offense, they do add a McMillan at wide receiver who people are excited about. The tight end position's one to look out for. Tight end has been a very productive position for Kansas under Andy Kotelnicki. At Penn State, tight end was very productive for Andy Kotelnicki. Tyler Warren a couple years ago. So I think it's important to think about the roster construction in terms of what to expect with this team. Do they do enough at tight end? Because that's usually a position that is a tremendous upside under Andy Kotelnicki on offense.
Yeah, I'd probably give Baylor, and keep an eye on that Old Dominion transfer, that tight end, last name Butler for
Correct.
Kansas.
Good call.
Didn't
Glad you brought him
have a
up.
ton of catches at Old Dominion, but he was a top 5. Like, NFL scouts love his skill set. I'd give Baylor a C+ because I'm factoring in Joe Clanderman, the defensive coordinator that they bring in from Kansas State, and I'd give him like a B+ or an A-. He's exceptional. Kansas State has a new head coach, which is why he's no longer in Manhattan. But 14 of Baylor's 22 projected starters are transfer portal additions. And DJ Lagway's regression as a player, which has very much been framed as, it was a Billy Napier problem at Florida, is concerning to me. They bring in some offensive linemen from Group of 5 programs that were very productive and had high run blocking and pass blocking grades from Pro Football Focus, but they're all transfers from the MAC. And defensively, you're overhauling a defense that was in the 100s. 87th in terms of total yards allowed, but yards per play 120. Rushing defense was atrocious in the 130s. There weren't many teams that struggled more than Baylor at stopping the run. Joe Clanderman, that's mission number 1. The other parallel that I see between both these programs, they lost a ton of close games. Baylor lost 3 games that were one-score games. But how did they get there? Were they down early in the game and they had to come storming back and they make it close at the end? That was the TCU game. Remember, back-to-back onside kicks in the fourth quarter. They scored a couple of touchdowns. They weren't really in that game. Were they in the Houston game, the final regular season Saturday? I would argue no. They led for the full 4 quarters, wire to wire. So, roster construction grade, I'll give them a C or a C+. All right, what has to go right for Kansas to be a sleeper team, a dark horse?
The hinge point. For me, it's defense. last year it's been well documented. We've talked a ton about it for Kansas. Their defense was atrocious. They gave up 184 rushing yards per game. Three times last year, Kansas allowed 500-plus rushing yards in a game, including the Texas Tech. The unit ranked 13th in the Big 12 in rushing defense and 11th in total defense out of 16 teams. These are bottom-of-the-barrel numbers. The season for Kansas this year and their ability to get back to a bowl game hinges on their defense. McDonald's first year as a DC was not great. Year 2 needs to be better, and it should. Can Kansas generate pressure with their defensive line? They had 1.9 sacks per game, 74th nationally. They could not get after the quarterback. They could not stop the run, and because of that, they could not do anything on defense. I think the hinge point, the one thing that has to go right, is this defense has to be dramatically improved, especially in their rush defense this year.
Same thing for Baylor. Almost a carbon copy. At K-State, Joe Klanderman's defenses forced a Big 12 leading 88 turnovers. They allowed 23 points per game, middle of the pack. But the takeaways stand out to me. They were top 30 nationally in defensive efficiency 5 straight years as him calling the plays on the defensive side of the ball. And last year, K-State finished 4th nationally in turnovers gained. They were 2nd nationally in fumble recoveries, so they're very good at jarring the ball loose. That's a major thing that has to go right. And then with that same theme, like, you can't be turning the ball over on offense. Baylor was 2nd to last in the country in turnover margin, almost 2 a game. DJ Lagway, as a freshman 2 years ago, was 3rd nationally in passing efficiency on deep balls. But last year, he was terrible. So, like we've seen, when he's at his best, he's an elite talent. Probably a 1st or 2nd round NFL draft pick. But he was at his worst last year. A minus 13 turnover margin for the team at Florida last season. He threw more interceptions than any other power conference quarterback a year ago. Was that a system problem, or was that a Lagway problem? So the rushing defense, like you noted with KU's, huge as well. The official numbers, they gave up 180 rushing yards per game last season, almost 6 yards per carry. So they also weren't getting pressure on the quarterback. There's a lot of things that have to go right for Baylor. But I would say the hinge point is the turnovers. All right, what's the one thing that could derail Kansas?
Well, and it's funny because this also is probably the same for Baylor, and that's the quarterback position. Cole Ballard and Isaiah Marshall spent the spring competing as the top 2 candidates. They brought in Chase Jenkins from Rice, who's recovering from an injury during spring. So you'd think either Marshall or Ballard are the front runners. Look, Marshall is the dual threat guy. Ballard probably gives you more consistency as the quarterback, as the passer down the field. And so I think this is a legitimate discussion here, because it shouldn't be. Marshall should be the guy. He's recruited higher. He's got more upside as a dual threat guy, but it seems like, from what we've heard, that more of the passing upside is with Cole Ballard, and that's the reason that he has it. Marshall has not run away with it. So we head into fall camp here with the question surrounding the quarterback position and who the starter is. So if they don't figure it out, if they don't solidify the position, then they're in trouble, especially year 1 with Kotelnicki back. The quarterback position is the one thing that could derail this season.
I would say the same, like you said, could be said for Baylor. My biggest concern with Baylor is just all of the roster turnover. It's the most in the Dave Aranda era. And he said last year's team, he told us at Big 12 Media Days, it was his most talented team. More talent than a team that played in a Big 12 championship game. So why did they go 5-7? Locker room. There has to be something going on there. I just cannot figure out another sticking point for why they struggled so much last year. And when you've got a coach that you know is on the hot seat, you've got a combined roster that's never played together with a schedule that is brutal. Their last 3 games are BYU, Texas Tech, and Houston. The DJ Lagway experience is probably number 1. The turnovers can't happen. But also, the best way to not turn the ball over is to turn and hand it off to your running back. They're replacing almost their entire offensive line. Dawson Pendergrass is back after suffering a season-ending injury preseason last year. But you lose Bryson Washington to Auburn, like, the running back room is not near as deep as it was a season ago. Taman, are you taking notes?
I am.
Okay, mental notes. He's taking mental notes.
I don't know what I've typed over here.
This is the consensus. Coming up next, do we have these teams too high, too low, or exactly right? Who are they better than in the conference?
We reach a consensus next.
National perception versus Big 12 reality. Here on Big 12 Radio, before we chat with Michael Swain, the KU beat writer for the Kansas 24/7 affiliate. He's Ari, I'm James. This is Big 12 Radio.
Montez retreating. That one's batted. That one's picked. And we got action in Lubbock. Skylar Gill Howard. A big man touchdown. At the 16. Dampier drops it off near side. Snowden looking for some blockers. And he won't get them. They're just jumping on him. Gill Howard. Just go get the quarterback. David Bailey bearing down. It is a sack. And it's Skylar Gill Howard. Bailey applied pressure from the edge. Gill Howard cleaned it up inside. 4th down. Couple of sacks, couple of tackles for losses in this game. Chris Brilliant running here. And they're going to blow it dead. Short of the line. Figure out how to move the ball. Dampier fakes the toss. And he'll gain a yard. Not a lot. As Skylar Gill Howard comes up with the tackle. Keep it on the ground on 3rd and long to try to get something to put him in 4th and manageable. Burnett down at the 40.
Best Texas Tech defense I've seen in the last 10 plus years. That pass is intercepted. And again, it was Murphy under pressure. Lots of pressure.
Michael Swain, the Kansas beat writer for KU's 24/7 sports affiliate, will be with us here in about 15 minutes on Big 12 Radio. We are attempting to reach a consensus on who the 14th ranked team in the Big 12 Conference should be heading into the season. Ari has Kansas. I have Baylor. So let's make a case for our spots being too high, too low, or exactly right. You're never wrong, so it's exactly right.
That's right,
for
exactly.
Kansas, but
except for what I was wrong with Cincinnati and Iowa State.
what is the case for KU maybe being even lower? Because I think you have them pretty low based off of just the perception of the program.
Yeah, I mean, look, they have back-to-back 5 and 7 seasons. You still have your defensive coordinator back from a really bad defense last year. Your head coach, who, by the way, many of those close losses from last year, I would attribute to him and decision-making, right? Like, I still think, as I've mentioned a lot with Lance Leipold, I'm critical of his in-game management. Sometimes they're playing not to lose. You play a little bit too conservatively, and I think, those things are why I have them here. Now, Leipold did mention after the season, like, he's got to fix it. He's got to get better, and, like, he looked internally at that. And so hopefully they've done that full evaluation to get a sense of, like, maybe we should be a little bit more taking chances and not playing so close to the vest. But I'm not sure you can make the case they should be any lower given what we talked about, I think, last week with Iowa State and Cincinnati in terms of, could you make the case they should be lower than Iowa State or Cincinnati for how many new players they have or their defense was so bad? I just don't see it. I mean, Iowa State and Cincinnati for me are where they are for good reason. And Kansas is clearly a rung above them, but not much more in my opinion.
Yeah, I think this is kind of another tier of the Big 12.
I'd call it a rung since it's
I like
feels a little bit too low to be calling them tiers.
Yeah, sure. Rung, I like that.
Sounds a little bit bottom of the barrel there. It's a rung. Mm-hmm. It's not a tier.
But I would call this rung. This rung is like the prove it.
Yeah.
Rankings
Good call.
Era of the Big 12. Like KU and Baylor are very much in a prove it tier. I think that the case for Baylor, 3 losing seasons in 4 years, like that's a body of work. That's a pretty good sample size. And the turnover margin, minus 13 on the season. Actually, I think it was even higher than that because it was almost like 2 a game. Barely inside the top 100 in total defense and multiple statistical categories being outside the top 100. Like that's a big mountain to climb. I think the case for higher for Baylor comes down to, last I checked, the quarterback's a pretty important position. And you have a guy that has potential to be a first-round NFL draft-type player, which is what he was on like the way too early mocks before the disastrous season at Florida. Clarendon has done nothing but built top 30 defenses during his time at Kansas State, and Kansas State was barely a top 75 defense when he took over. So, like, he's done this before. But KU and Baylor, I say prove it because there's so many unknowns for both of them, and last year was major disappointments.
Yeah, agreed. So the case for moving them up for Kansas, I would say Kotelnicki's return. I mean, the dude just churns out top 10 offenses. He did at KU and did at Penn State. You've got Dylan Edwards, who could hit with his upside in Kotelnicki's offense, plus what they added in their defensive front and Conde and Smalls and Harold and Harris. The schedule is brutal, which is one of the bigger reasons, too, to have them at 14th. They play a ton of road games in the Big 12 this year. Even one of their home games against Arizona State is actually in London. Plus, they play Missouri in the non-conference. So I feel like there's a hard case to be made to move them up, but if I did, it'd be because of Andy Kotelnicki's return on offense and some of the defensive pieces they've added that should help make this defense dramatically improved.
National perception against Big 12 reality. What even is I think the national perception of Baylor is you've got maybe the hottest seed in America. He'd have to win 8, 9, maybe even 10 games to come back next year in Dave Aranda. You've got a new AD. Like, that's a very well-documented narrative, I think, when it comes to Baylor. But what about Kansas?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the national perception on Kansas is, okay, which is a significant jump from where they were before Leipold, which was worst program ever. right?
Utility
They have taken the mantle from that, but I'm not sure that people have realized just how poorly the Jayhawks have been the last 2 years, finishing 5-7 in both years. Both ended up being completely different ways to get there. Kansas sort of limped to the finish line, a couple of years ago, sprinted to the finish line a couple of years ago and nearly made it to a bowl game, whereas last year they sort of limped to the finish line and weren't able to close out games to get to bowl eligibility. But I think the perception is that they're a lot better than they've been simply because they were so bad, and now they're just at least average, which is where they've been the last couple of years.
I mean, 2 years ago, Kansas was a preseason top 25 team in a lot of the way too early polls because they were coming off a 9-win campaign. Baylor was a preseason top 25 team going into last year in a lot of way too early preseason polls because of how they finished. All right, ceiling and floor. What is the ceiling and what is the floor for Kansas?
I think the ceiling is somewhere around 8 wins. I think if Kotelnicki's offense, finds its identity behind a decisive starting quarterback and they figure that stuff out, Dylan Edwards finally recognizes the potential that he showed when he was at Colorado, and he becomes, 1,000-yard back or, 800-yard back, something like that. Kansas can go 2-1 in October, maybe get an upset against Missouri early in the season. Maybe they get an upset in Manhattan and win their first game against K-State for the first time since 2007. I could see the potential with Kotelnicki's return. They've done enough on defense to improve that defensive enough. I could see 8 wins being a ceiling for them.
I would put the ceiling for Baylor probably around that same number. I look at Baylor on the road last year really struggled. Their only road wins were in the non-conference against SMU, which is barely a road game, and then they won at Oklahoma State. Outside of that, their other road games, they got clobbered in. They play Auburn in Atlanta to open the season. They play at Arizona State, at Kansas. These two teams that we're talking about do play each other. The game is in Lawrence. They play at BYU, at Houston. Even if they bring their A-plus game, I don't know that they get through that gauntlet on the road. So 8-4 probably feels like the ceiling for this Baylor team that, again, was 112th last season in rushing defense and 124 in tackles for loss. Like, they had no pressure in the backfield. What's the floor for KU?
I mean, I think 3-4 wins. Again, you've got 2 winnable games in the non-conference, but one of them is after returning from London with a trip following Arizona State. The Missouri game could go either way. You have more road games than home games this year, and again, one of your home games is actually on the road in London, and you have, I think it's a bye week after the Arizona State game, so you basically are playing 7 straight games without a bye week. What happens if the quarterback isn't solidified? What happens if the defense is not improved? These are things that could sabotage a season, and I think the question marks, outweigh some of the answers here, which is the reason I have them at 14.
I don't know that Baylor's floor is much different than last year. I'd say probably 4-8 would be their floor because they do have Prairie View A&M at home. They play Louisiana Tech at home. They get Colorado at home to open Big 12 play. Their other home game is Iowa State that I would mark as more than likely a win for Baylor. But opening the season at Auburn, if you get throttled in that game, if DJ Lagway struggles, it could be wheels off for a Baylor program that to me really feels like it's teetering right now with the Dave Aranda buzz about him being on the hot seat. Their road games at Kansas and at UCF are probably their biggest coin flip games from does this team make a bowl or do they suffer another 4 or 5 win season? And I don't know that I see much of a middle ground with Baylor. I see either they break through and this all works and Klanderman has them as a top 30 defense and they're winning the turnover battle and DJ Lagway is a 5-star talent and he's an elite passer. The deep ball is there. He can also run a little bit. Or it just completely bottoms out. Injuries start to mount. They're not super deep. Their top returning defensive player is probably Travion Barnes, the linebacker who led the nation in tackles at FIU 2 years ago and then blew out his knee like week 3 and missed the entire season last year. So that's another red flag is the injury aspect where they were really bothered by injuries last year and couldn't overcome it. All right, our final defense.
Yeah, so look, the reason I think we should get consensus for Kansas at 14 here is because back-to-back 5-7 seasons, have you done enough roster-wise, personnel-wise, to improve your roster, especially on the defensive side of the football? I would argue that based on the additions for Baylor on defense, that the questions on defense are more easily answered affirmatively than they would be on for Kansas, right? You've got Joel Klanderman. I love the addition of Klanderman, the defensive coordinator. I like some of the additions they made on defense, the personnel-wise. I do for Kansas, but like none of those guys cracked our top 5 newcomer series. And you still have DK McDonald, who, as his first year as a DC, was not very good. So for me, I have more optimism around the defensive side improvements for Baylor than I do for Kansas, which is the reason I'd have Kansas here and not Baylor. I also think with the question marks at quarterback, at least Baylor knows who their quarterback is. I know this isn't a direct one-on-one, but I'm just thinking about, like, for me, there's no question that Baylor is better positioned for a better season this year than Kansas is. You do have a new OC as opposed to a new DC, but remember, you needed a new DC in Waco for Baylor. You didn't necessarily need a new offensive coordinator, although you take him because of how good he was. There's quarterback question marks, way more so for Kansas than there is for Baylor. And then, of course, the defensive side of the football, which we've documented. Like, this team was not good enough, not even close to being good enough on defense. That's the reason I think consensus, which should be 14 for Kansas. And I know it's going to be hard for you to disagree because you love Kansas so much.
My opponent just continues to bash the Hawks, which I'm against that. I just rock chalk all the way.
You do.
Okay?
You're a big rock
Breakthrough
chalker.
year, Andy Kotelnicki.
Known Kansas fan.
Turn on the tape.
Noted Kansas State alum James Westling.
Baylor lost 5 of their last 6 games last year and weren't even close. At Cincinnati, they lose by 3 touchdowns. At Arizona, they lose 41-17. They lose at home to Houston to wrap up the regular season. I see a program that is trending down. And 2 years ago, they finished the season hot. They won their last 6 regular season games. And this year, they're sitting at 4-2. They're going to TCU. That's a major make-or-break game. They didn't get it, and the bottom just completely fell out. So with 14 new starters, with a quarterback who led the nation in interceptions last year among power conference quarterbacks, paired with a team that was second to last in the entire country in turnover margin, that's a recipe for disaster. The Clarendon defense that was in the 100s last season, multiple categories. Even if you get that defense into the 80s or the 70s, that's a huge uptick, but it's still not good enough to win in this conference, especially when you look at all the road games on their schedule. The fact that even their home games are at half capacity by mid-season last year, so they didn't really have much of a home field advantage. I see problems ahead for the Bears. All right. Taman?
I'm ready.
Do we agree? Because if we agree, Taman doesn't need to do anything.
Yeah, we agree. Kansas should be 14th on this list.
Taman, we'll need Taman to chime in here.
The answer is Kansas is 14.
Ooh.
Clearly.
I'm sorry. James made his argument. I kept hearing last year. This isn't last year. This is this year.
Wow.
Ari kept talking about the question mark at quarterback. He kept talking about Lance Leipold and what decision
End of game decision making. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. Baylor has a quarterback. We know who that is. Kansas is questionable. Baylor has a defensive coordinator, Joe Klanderman, who's had success. Kansas, to me, what's good for them is that Andy Kotelnicki's coming back and that Dylan Edwards is there. But I have too many more questions compared to Baylor.
Well, and especially for Edwards, like he's a legitimate question mark as well. So far too many questions and answers here. So far be it for me to be excited about my Jayhawks at 14, but at least that's where they'll start the season.
Would that be the end of the Lance Leipold era?
No, I don't think so. I think he's going to get one more year regardless.
Okay.
And he probably should. But I think, you mentioned like the home field advantage part for Baylor. Like Kansas doesn't really have a home field advantage this year. They're going to have a stadium at 56% capacity. They're going to have, more road games, because of that. So I think that's a legitimate excuse for Leipold in 2026.
Tough schedule, too. Yeah, Michael Swain, the Kansas beat writer for the 24/7 Kansas site, joins us next. He's Ari, I'm James. This is Big 12 Today.
Robertson spins one, 4th down, got it! to Senior. Robertson spins one. Fourth down. Got it! Rush up the middle. Robertson spins one. Fourth down. Got it! From the mesh point, he pulls, he shoots. Box for a touchdown. Josh Cameron. Bowl eligibility on the line, and they go to Josh Cameron. As you said, he starts and to cap. Class was in the ESPN 300. Robertson, and so that is caught by Cameron. Flag down. You hear Cameron barking and one. With Josh Cameron on the outside, one-on-one. I mean, you've got guys streaking all the way on. You mentioned it. Does he have full possession of that football? Now he has possession immediately, but watch the ball move here. He's already got being at 70%. He's going to get the catch. And Josh Cameron on the outside, one-on-one. I mean, you've got guys streaking all the way on. You mentioned it. Play fake. One-on-one coverage. Jump ball. Flag is out. Hits hauled in. Josh Cameron.
This is what we talked about earlier in impact players. He's our guy that they throw the fade to. You see it right here?
Big 12 today here on Big 12 Radio. Michael Swain, the Kansas beat writer for 24/7 Sports, is with us because this is the consensus where Ari and I are trying to come up with our preseason consensus, Big 12 pecking order, teams 1 through 16 preseason. Ari has Kansas at number 14. I had them a little bit higher on my preseason imaginary ballot, if you will. So, Michael, what should we be optimistic about when it comes to KU, and then what are the red flags?
Yeah, wow. So I think optimism, you're going to look at Andy Kotelnicki returning, and you look at the last time he was at KU and the creativity offensively, right? And that was kind of the calling card of the Kansas program as the ascension happened, right? In late 21 into 2022, 23, it's the offensive side of the ball that really did, help the program get to a spot it hadn't been in a very long time. And obviously Andy Kotelnicki's back. You've kind of got the gang back together with, Jim Zebrowski still on staff. Matt Lubick, who was an analyst a couple years ago, is now the tight ends coach. So we've got all these coaches that helped collectively, make the Kansas offense one that was one of the most explosive, one of the most consistent over the course of a college football season in the sport. So if you're looking at the positive side of things, right, coaching-wise, you've got those guys back. Now, red flags, like the quarterback is the most important position in football. And that's just going to be a question for Kansas going into the season, right? Jalen Daniels is gone. And right now it's going to be a battle between Cole Ballard, Isaiah Marshall, and Chase Jenkins, the transfer from Rice. Right now it looks like, maybe Cole Ballard might have a slight edge going into camp, but it's one of those where I don't think Kay's going to make a decision on the quarterback until 2 weeks into camp when they really get another up-close look at things. And you're basically looking at if it's Cole Ballard, someone that started a couple games, 4 and 23, has gotten some spot reps since, or it's Isaiah Marshall, someone who's not thrown a pass in a Power 4 football game, or it's Chase Jenkins, a transfer from Rice. So it's just a lot of questions, and it's hard to say how that's going to play out, right? KU could get good quarterback play. It could get bad quarterback play. It's impossible to say right now. And so anytime you have that big of a question mark about the quarterback spot, I really think that's always going to be the biggest red flag you have.
Do you think 14 is too low for them?
It's so hard to tell, honestly, because of the way that the transfer portal has worked. Like, KU's got a new roster. You look at the two deep, they return some guys on defense, but it's basically an entire new offense, a lot of new defensive pieces that are going to play big roles. It's hard to say exactly how that's going to play out. I know it's not sexy to come on here and be like, oh, I don't know. But I could see a world in which things don't go right for Kansas and it ends up being 14th. I could see a world in which things do go right for KU and it's a 6-6, 7-5 maybe type of season. But again, you're asking for a lot of things to go right, and this is a tough schedule, especially factoring in going to London as well. So, Ari, I think in terms of the range of outcomes, I would probably say 14th is a possibility, just based on all the question marks you're looking at and having.
So at the quarterback position, if it is a guy that's been on the roster, do you think Kansas has more trust in Andy Kotelnicki and what he can do with whoever's operating the offense versus, hey, let's go make some big swings in the transfer portal?
Yeah, so Kansas football is in a tough position compared to other Big 12 teams because in this current revenue sharing era, Kansas basketball gets more money than any other program probably in the country. That is going to create a situation where you have to be smart with your money. Do you want to go out and pay $2 million for a starting quarterback, or would you rather spread that money out across your roster to try and improve other bits? I think that's the approach that Kansas went with, where they said, hey, we've got Cole, we got Isaiah, we'll get a backup. And you can say, we'll try and spend that money elsewhere. You're able to go get a Dylan Edwards. You're able to get some guys on the defensive side of the ball as well, who have good acumen. So you put this whole piece together, having to manage a budget, which for Kansas is not going to be as big as some of these other teams in the Big 12 that punt on basketball, right? Utah punts on basketball. TCU punts on basketball. They have that money for football. And so it's one of these kind of in the current era where you've got to kind of manage a budget. I think Kansas decided that, hey, let's go with the guys that we know and try and create a better roster with more depth. When you're playing 9 straight games in a college football season, right, you need depth. Can you go spend that money maybe more effectively across the roster rather than going big on one position where then if you miss on that evaluation, then you're really facing an uphill climb.
You know, I think the defense for me is such a huge question. They were so bad defensively last year, Michael. You know, where do you look at those improvements coming from, especially given that they're going to have the exact same defensive coordinator?
Yeah, so I think what you're betting on is last year's being a transition year, where KU was a four-man front for, Lance Leipold's first few seasons, and then DK McDonald comes in, tries to do a little bit more of this multiple defense. Some of it's going to have some three-down fronts, some even fronts, and KU did not do a full slate clean, where they basically would have told kids, hey, you don't fit the defense, you're not coming back. Like, that's not how Lance Leipold operates, right? Guys on the team have a spot. And so last year was kind of a transition year, right? You saw Dean Miller go from being a four-down outside defensive end to being a guy that's dropping into coverage a little bit, right? More of your outside linebacker style in an odd front. So now what you're betting on this season is some of that second-year improvement. You went in the portal, and you got some defensive linemen that maybe fit some of that odd front stuff, right? You're looking at Eamon Smalls coming from UAB. Man, we get to go to some spring practices, and he is a mammoth human, one of the biggest defensive tackles KU's had physically and as long as I've been covering the team. So it's one of these situations where you've gone to the portal now and you've been able to reinforce and get the right players that maybe fit what DK McDonald wants to do. And then on the back end, you really went and improved some of the depth. You can look at a Corey Gordon coming from Louisville. I think that's one of the biggest additions KU had. He can play your kind of field safety role, which KU did not have last year, right? KU played with Lyric Rawls and Taylor Davis, two boundary safeties, right? Physical players that maybe aren't the best in coverage. Well, now you go out and get someone that can cover and maybe can help shore up the back end where you're not having as many miscommunications. And so you put this stuff together and you're able to return some key guys, right? Trey Lathan coming back is huge. Jalen Todd coming back is huge. Blake Harrell along the defensive line, right? You're able to get some of these key pieces back. You supplement that with new players from the portal who maybe fit the vision for DK McDonald. And then you're hoping all those pieces come together and you're able to see some improvement in year two.
So it sounds like, Michael, you're much more optimistic about the defense than you are the offense. Is that correct?
Well, here's the thing. I think that defensively, there is not a lot of room to go down just because of the struggles that they had last year were so inconsistent, right? Some games, the linebackers were fitting the run really well. Like, there's no better example than the UCF game last year, where in the first half, they're just getting gashed because linebackers are in the wrong places, missed assignments, and then all of a sudden, the second half, they basically shut UCF out because everyone was in the right spot. So defensively, there's so much room for improvement, where offensively, KU went from 22 and 23 being kind of top 3, top 4 in the conference to last year being more middle of the road. There's space for that to go down, and just because the quarterback spot is a question mark. I like some of the skill guys KU has, right? You get Dylan Edwards. I think Yashin Willis is going to be good. You got a Corey Amakri, a true freshman who could play. And then you go to wide receiver, right? Cam Pickett's back, Nick McMillan. You get him from Buffalo, leading receiver in the MAC. Like, I like some of the weapons KU has offensively, but as long as the quarterback is a question mark, and it will be until we get to see the guys play, it's going to be hard for me to go full force that, hey, the Kansas offense is going to be top 3 in the conference like it was in 22, 23 when you had Devin Neal, Jalen Daniels, Dom Pooney along the offensive line, Bryce Cable, right? All these guys who now have gone on and had some pro careers starting. So I look at the team and say the defense has to get better, right? You're not going anywhere if it stays pat. But offensively, I could see a much wider range of outcomes just because the question marks at quarterback.
Yeah, and I guess, like, who do you think should be the starting quarterback?
Should be. So here I'll describe a range of outcomes for you. In my mind, you have Isaiah Marshall, who is one of the best athletes on the team, right? Do you lean into his ability as a runner and say that you're going to be a lot more of the dual threat offense? The question is, can he throw the ball? He's not throwing a pass in a Power 4 football game. You don't know. Can he read a defense as it's happening? Can he make all the throws at the right timing? Like, that's a question. And then you have Cole Ballard, who the coaches have trusted as the backup quarterback over the last couple of years. He is not the athlete that Isaiah is, but he's a physical runner. So you could do some dual threat stuff with him, but maybe not as explosive as having Isaiah, where if you give Isaiah a crease, he's got the speed to take it all the way. I don't know if Cole has that long speed in the end. And for Cole, I think from what I've seen in practice, he's improved his arm talent. And it's a question of, hey, can you take some of the stuff you've shown in practice where you've proven to the coaches that they trust you as the backup quarterback to Jalen Daniels over the last 2 years? Can you translate that to the game setting? So range of outcomes wise, it's kind of dependent on how you want to run your offense, right? Do you want it to be something where maybe you're going to lean more into the run game and try and be a dual threat, not triple option entirely, but a lot more maybe early 2022 than 23 with Jason Bean, right? So it's just a question of which way you want to go. Do you want to try the talent with Isaiah and see how it goes and take the risk that maybe, throwing the football, it's not what you want? I could make an argument there. I could also make the argument for Cole. Like, it's such a challenge because, right, it's should be the starting quarterback. It's so hard to say because there are different ways you can go, and it all depends on how you want to build your team and kind of the game states and the game situations you want to put yourself in.
Well, that 2023 KU team that won 9 games, like, they leaned on their ground game. I mean, they averaged like 200 yards a game rushing. Now, Devin Neal was the featured back, but was Jason Bean involved much in the quarterback run game?
Not as much. So Jason was not an option quarterback. Jason he had elite top end speed where at times he used it, right? You can go to the Oklahoma game when they had the rain delay and I don't remember the exact speed he hit. It was maybe it was 22 miles an hour as he's running for the touchdown in that game. So Jason was not the guy that you're going to say, hey, we're running a read option, read this guy, and figure out what you're going to do. He was more of when it came time to scramble, he would run. And that's just because he was not as physical of a runner. He did not, want to get hit as much as where Jalen, throughout the course of his career, he was not afraid to lower his shoulder and go in and hit a guy. So I think it's just different styles in that 23 season.
All right, Michael, where should KU be ranked in the preseason in the league?
Yeah, I think probably like 10th or 11th. I think average in the Big 12. Obviously, I think there's questions at some other places as well where, quarterback evaluation is going to be really important in this year because there's so many guys with new quarterbacks who they're going to lean on. So I think kind of in that 10 to 12-ish range, I think for KU.
Okay.
I'm really confident in that.
Awesome stuff. Michael Swain, always appreciate your time and your coverage of the Hawks, the KU beat writer for Kansas 24/7 site. Great to hear from you, Michael. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, guys.
Michael Swain joining us. The consensus is the Kansas Jayhawks are our preseason 14th ranked team in the Big 12 as we go 1 through 16. All right, breaking news here on the program. This is Big 12 Today on Big 12 Radio. The Big 12 has officially started down the legal path to potentially sanction Texas Tech over its intent to play quarterback Brendan Sorsby. We dive in to the 47-page complaint that was just filed here in Dallas. He's Ari, I'm James. This is Big 12 Radio. We are powered by Modelo on TuneIn and Big 12 Studios. Big 12 today here on Big 12 Radio. This is the Big 12 Conference. This is a different league. Alongside Ari Timken, I'm James Westling. Here in about 20 minutes, College World Series talk. We'll check in with Jamie Plunkett, the host of Base 12 Sports and the Flyover League podcast, as we did confirm West Virginia, they play Troy tomorrow. They need to win that one and then take down North Carolina in 2 straight to play in the best-of-3 College World Series National Championship. So work to be done for the Mountaineers. But breaking news here on the program. So the Big 12, they did not blink. As we sit here on a Monday morning, the Big 12 has just filed a 47-page federal complaint in Northern District of Texas in Dallas against Texas Tech, Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton, Texas Tech's chancellor, their president, and athletic director. The conference is seeking a judgment and preliminary injunction to enforce its own bylaws. So the right to sanction Texas Tech for playing Sorsby. This is pre-Big 12 conference call that will happen this afternoon with the board, presidents, high-profile conference members.
We've got some good old-fashioned lawyer battling going on right now. Yeehaw! Just a shootout at the OK Corral between some lawyers, some good lawyering going on back and forth. If you'd like to study the art of lawyering, have I got a study for you?
Well, sometimes you play lawyer on the radio.
Occasionally.
Every once in a while.
Although that does not hold up in court, as it turns out. Sir, you are not a lawyer. We don't care that you sometimes play one on the radio. That's illegal, technically.
Like, what would you be doing if you weren't doing sports broadcasting? It's not even a question for you. I know what you'd be doing. Law and Order, SVU, Dallas style, this guy.
Faking being a lawyer? Is that what you're suggesting?
You'd be a lawyer, yeah.
According to Pete Nakos from On3, who we had on earlier in the show, the Big 12 also acknowledged in the complaint what sanctions it's considering, quote, if a vote were to occur, some of the potential sanctions the board could consider under the bylaws include monetary sanctions and or a ban on competing in the Big 12 championship game. How about that one?
That's pretty big.
That's significant, but the Big 12 wouldn't be doing this unless it was pretty big. I mean, you have the Big 12, they're filing a suit against a current member. This shows you that you've got 15 on one side and 1 on the other, which is what we've heard. And the Big 12 and Brett Yormark specifically are about consensus here. I don't know that Yormark has an opinion on this other than the 15 schools that he's on the one side with that have the opinion on this, right?
Totally. And the Big 12 and the Big 12 members are essentially saying, hey, one school's not going to push us around. We are going to fight tooth and nail for what is in the best interest of the league and its member institutions. And it has very much become a 15 versus 1.
Ross Dellinger from the Big 12's filing, quote, in an industry that rarely agrees on anything, there is finally an issue that everyone seems to agree on, other than Texas Tech and the Attorney General. Universities should not field players who have bet on their own team's games in college athletics.
So officials and presidents have already asked Texas Tech not to play him, and Texas Tech has not agreed. Quote, Texas Tech, TTU, has not agreed. Texas Tech is saying, screw you guys, we're going to play him. And the rest of the league is coming together. Now, the legal arguments on both sides, so the Big 12 is asking the court to dismiss Attorney General Ken Paxton's antitrust claim and affirm its right to penalize a member school for violating the Commerce Clause.
Some good lawyering here.
Like 47 pages. All right, does this play into... Like, what do you think happens? Does Texas Tech continue to fight? Do they push harder? Or does Texas Tech come together and say, is it worth it? Essentially, is it worth it to play Brendan Sorsby?
Well, and look, I think when you step back for a moment, you also recognize this is a landmark case from the standpoint of, the SEC has been talking about breaking away, and so has the Big Ten. So does this allow for conferences to sue in court against members that say that they don't have the authority to generate rules and create rules. So, like, huge from that standpoint in terms of, can these leagues function on their own without the NCAA? The NCAA cannot enforce its own rules. Can the leagues? Because leagues have within their bylaws the ability to enforce rules. Now, there is no collective bargaining agreement, right? So they have the ability to enforce rules amongst their members. They don't have the ability to enforce rules on the players themselves. But this could be on the schools themselves, and in that case, the league should have the justifiable right to do it.
Social media is about to be wheels off lit.
Oh, it's been.
And will continue.
Any development in the Sorsby saga is like throwing a grenade in the middle of a populated square.
Grab your popcorn.
Yeah.
All right, what do you think this does for the Big 12 in terms of perception? You have 15 member institutions versus 1. You have other conferences, other member institutions of other leagues very much in the same camp of it's everybody against Texas Tech right now. So for the future of the conference to say, hey, we have the back of the majority, which are the other 15 schools, what does that do, you think, in terms of narrative?
Well, look, the narrative is right now college football on one side and Texas Tech on the other.
Right. It's 137 schools, I think, are playing FBS football against 1.
So you have, like, for the narrative, I think, a good story for the Big 12 to say, like, hey, we got you, college football. We are trying to do what we can. As opposed to a league that is incentivized by Texas Tech being at the top. I think this is a really big deal from the standpoint of, it used to be whatever Texas wants goes, right? Because Texas was the big brand in the Big 12. And so they threw around their weight a lot. Texas Tech has in many ways served as a replacement for Texas from the standpoint of having this very attractive brand with lots of money. But the league here is siding against Texas Tech, so much so that they're searching for legal recourse to make a change here. That's huge because historically the conference has sided with its best and biggest brands. I think the ACC and the SEC and the Big Ten would probably do the same thing right now given the chance. If Brennan Sorsby had transferred to Georgia to be the Georgia quarterback, would the SEC right now be suing, in a sense, Georgia in order to be able to navigate its own bylaws? That's essentially what's happening here. They're not suing Texas Tech, but they are trying to enforce their own bylaws, which say that they can punish Texas Tech. So I think this is huge from the standpoint of Brett Yormark is really about consensus here. Mm-hmm. He's got 15 on one side and 1 on the other. He's going to go to the side with the 15 and then argue against the 1 to get consensus. Right. That's what he's doing right now. Regardless of the value of the brand, that is a monumental change in the Big 12.
So you think the SEC and the Big Ten, were you saying you think they would side with, let's say, Georgia in the SEC, or would they side with the other?
I think Georgia or Ohio State or Texas. 100% I think they would. I think the ACC would side with Clemson or with Florida State. 100% they would.
Mm-hmm. And this is the Big 12 saying we are all equals.
Correct. Or not even that. It's more of the we want consensus.
We are united.
We are united.
Right.
Everything they do has consensus. This one is the one that does it, and it's obvious. And again, I think, like, from a narrative perspective, not that it matters here because the Big 12 is going to do what's in the collective best interest of the conference, and that's what it's doing right here. But, yeah, like, you're going to have a lot of college football fans that are like, way to go, Brett Yormark. Let's do this, Big 12, because they serve as the final boss, quote unquote, if you will, to get in the way of Brennan Sorsby playing or not. Mm-hmm. It's clear that most people want a more significant, more stringent penalty if they want him to play at all, if they want him to allow him to play at all.
Right. And that's the other thing. There hasn't really been discussion of like a middle ground of missing half of the season or 8 games. It's been pretty much all or nothing. A 2-game suspension against Abilene Christian and Oregon State, that is nothing. Versus an entire season, he should never be able to play again. the Indiana assistant volleyball coach has been a case that's been referenced. The Hunter Deckers, Iowa State 2023, another case. The Alabama baseball coach, who was essentially banned from the sport for the rest of his coaching career, is another case. At what point, and I don't know that Texas Tech is going to get to this point because they've been so adamant against fighting back. But at what point is Brendan Sorsby stepping away, walking away, outweigh him playing? Is the gap between Sorsby and Hammond that significant that Texas Tech is saying it's totally worth it? But I just see such a missed opportunity for Brendan Sorsby. Like, gambling addiction, that is a disease. Brendan Sorsby has a chance to be a spokesperson for recovery. And that is a total afterthought in this entire thing. Like, you've got Magic Johnson going to the podium, HIV. Brett Favre, his battle with prescribed painkillers and the drug addiction that he faced there. Like, gambling, it's the fastest growing addiction in America. Legal sports betting is in nearly every state. There's apps on phones for thousands of college athletes, high school athletes, like the youth that play this sport. Like, he has an opportunity to be an ambassador and be somebody who fought against this disease and this addiction. And if he plays, that's totally out the window.
Yeah, I mean, and I think, you asked the question, like, at what point do the people involved here realize that this is way more of a headache than it's worth it? It's this ruling either for or against the Big 12 will go a long way in that.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, truly. I think, man, if this doesn't give you even more respect for Brett Yormark, because this is not about relationships, this is not about friendships, this is not about what's best at the top of the Big 12. This is just about what's best for the conference overall. When you have a leader, you need consistency. And the one thing more than anything that we've seen from Brett Yormark is consistency. Across the board, man. This is a huge day for the conference, and we're lucky to be a part of this because, again, like, if you're not recognizing what's happening here, like, the Big 12 is going to bat for everybody. The entire country right now wants the Big 12 to be able to do something, and this is the only recourse the Big 12 has. They may lose, and then they can't do anything.
Right. But they can't say we didn't go down without a fight.
Well, and is this irreconcilable with Texas Tech and the Big 12? Absolutely not. But how big is Cody Campbell's ego? Is he able to put that to the side and recognize that this pursuit that he's undergone is far worse from a optics standpoint than anything else?
The optics is
bad.
Eliminating Texas Tech from being part of a potential super league if all the conferences come together, from being an attractive member for the SEC or the Big Ten if they did want to leave the Big 12. Like, I saw a Big Ten insider on social, because the Big Ten, basically, they won't touch it. They're like, hey, if you guys want to schedule Texas Tech, go for it. Like, we're not all about that. Do what you want. And it was a list of schools that the Big Ten would take before they would take Texas Tech. All of them. Like, they are getting under the skin of not just the 15 member institutions in the Big 12, but also potentially impacting their future. And in terms of future, we always talk about the commissioner, Brett Yormark, playing the long game. Media rights deal up in 2030 or whatever it is. There could be a lot of movement in the sport and college athletics in terms of member institutions. Like, this has to be really attractive for potential future members of the Big 12 Conference to know that, hey, this is a guy that he puts his money where his mouth is.
Yeah.
He's got our back. Man, it's 47 pages filed.
Well, and again, like going back to the Brett Yormark consistency, like nothing is knee jerk. They planned on having a meeting of the executive board members on Friday. The attorney general sends out a letter that basically says, like, by the way, don't do that because then this would happen. So you think through the weekend, you talk to your legal team, you come up with the defense, you file immediately on Monday morning. It just falls in line with everything we've known and seen from Brett Yormark since he took over as commissioner. Consistency across the board. This is the right move. The Big 12 had to do something. You cannot go and say, well, that one side is so important here because they win and they're an important brand for the growth of our sport, and then maintain the growth of our conference and then maintain those relationships with the Big 12. Like Brett Yormark does exactly what he says he's going to do.
Our buddy Trey Wallace over at Fox and Outkick, who's been on our program multiple times, if you were curious as to what the Big 12 could potentially do to sanction Texas Tech, prohibitions on appearances in postseason events, Big 12 championship, or televised events, restrictions on revenue distributions. Like, this is full throttle for the Big 12. This isn't just dipping your toes in the water. Like, they are all in on fighting this thing. And I just hate that it's got to this point. Like, we love the Big 12. We love all 16 member institutions. Texas Tech has been amazing to us. Their fans, their passion, they're good for the league. Like, this division, it's tough to watch. All right, coming up next is Jamie Plunkett, staff writer for Horned Frog Blitz, 24/7 Sports, but for us, he's the host of Base 12 Sports and the Flyover League podcast. Nobody knows baseball like Jamie Plunkett. Get an update on West Virginia at the College World Series and what they're up against. He's Ari, I'm James, and this is Big 12 Radio.
Pressure again off the edge. Wigman has Koziel. He's got room to run. Touchdown.
Great protection. Jump ball for his tight end. And he reeled it in. Wow. How about Tanner Koziel? Tanner Koziel on that play. Goes up in the middle of three defenders.
Oh, nice.
To the end zone. The tight end, Koziel. Touchdown, Houston.
True 6'7", he blinked, didn't blink, and said, absolutely he is. And when you've got that against a guy who, although isn't short at 6 foot, and Marquise Groves Killebrew, 6 foot 179, the red shirt junior transfer is no match for a guy 6'7", 257. You got reach on him, you got size on him, and a quarterback that can put it right on the spot. That's outstanding football.
Looking for 6 instead of 3. Wigman, touchdown. His favorite target, Tanner Koziel.
That one to the flat, he's going to be the crosser versus man coverage. Better double team this guy ever on the field.
Into the game.
This is the Big 12 Conference. This is a different league. We are Big 12 today on Big 12 Radio, heard exclusively on TuneIn and watched on the Big 12 Fast Channel, Big 12 Studios with Ari Timken. I'm James Westling. Jamie Plunkett is our guest, host of Base 12 Sports and the Flyover League podcast. Jamie, get us caught up to speed on the College World Series. West Virginia, they won one against Troy. They lost one yesterday against North Carolina. What do you have to say about their efforts so far?
Pretty solid first game, for sure. Troy is a tough opponent, as we saw yesterday. They eliminated Ole Miss. Ole Miss is the first team out of the College World Series now, and they get a rematch between those two teams now on Tuesday. Yesterday's game against North Carolina for West Virginia was a little bit interesting. Just a couple uncharacteristic errors there in the seventh inning that really kind of put you behind the eight ball. Max Yale, I thought, was excellent all the way through until that moment, and then just couldn't quite get out of it. It's hard when you give North Carolina 5 outs to come away unscathed, and the Tar Heels managed to score 3 runs there and ultimately come away with the win. But I liked the way that West Virginia fought back. It could have been really easy for them to roll over after that moment, but they come back and they get a couple runners on in the 9th inning with 1 out. You think they're one swing away from really being able to tie this thing. And then North Carolina rolls out one of their really impressive freshmen to come in and just kind of slam the door. I mean, when you've got a guy like Caden Klauber that can come in and throw 97 in high leverage moments like North Carolina can, it's just it's hard to overcome.
Yeah.
But the good thing about go ahead.
No, go ahead, Jamie. Sorry.
I was just going to say the good thing about this is that it's double elimination, so you have a chance to bounce back and get right back to it on Tuesday.
Yeah, I think Walker McDuffie was fantastic yesterday, and then giving away, as you mentioned, 2 basically unhittable guy in the 9th inning. But it's the defense for West Virginia once again. I mean, it's sort of interesting, right? They've been so good defensively all year, but I think in the Big 12 tournament and then in this loss, it's the defense that has undone them. What's the issue with that? What's going on with that? How do they find more consistency on defense, considering that was one of their best aspects all year?
Yeah, it's interesting because the timing of their errors haven't been great, like you mentioned. And Steve Saban's talked about it a little bit in post-game yesterday, just said that's kind of baseball, right? He almost directly quoted Ron Washington, and just that's the way baseball go. Over the course of 62 games in a season, you're going to make mistakes, you're going to have errors. It just so happens that West Virginia's defensive issues have come up in important moments. And you learn from it, you move on, and you try to avoid letting it happen again. But the reality is it has put them behind the eight ball right now.
Jamie, what were your main takeaways from the Troy game going back to Friday, because they see the Trojans again here in a couple days?
Biggest takeaways from that was I thought that their offense was really clicking, right? Armani Guzman gets that game started off by stealing home base and stealing home plate and setting the single season stolen base record for West Virginia. He's at 39 of 42, 39 of 43 stolen base attempts this season now. He got thrown out at third against North Carolina on a perfect throw. But that Troy team is feisty, man. Every time West Virginia got up in that game, Troy responded. I think West Virginia led 1-0, then it was tied. 3-1, then it was tied. 5-4, then it was tied. And so Troy is going to fight until the bitter end. They scored 7 unanswered runs against Ole Miss in that game yesterday morning. And so West Virginia's in for a dogfight. There's no doubt about it that offense for Troy can produce. But the good thing is with the way that this tournament is set up, West Virginia's arms should be pretty well rested.
What do you make of what's happened the other, throughout this tournament, with Ole Miss getting eliminated, Texas being on the brink here? Just give us a sense here of your thoughts on what's happened overall in Omaha.
Yeah, I think it's broken pretty much the way we expected it to at this point. Maybe not Troy beating Ole Miss, but Georgia, we all knew coming into this week that Georgia's offense was probably the best in the field, and they showed it against a really good pitcher in Dylan Volantis on Saturday evening. That was a great matchup. Obviously, it didn't go Texas's way, and now they've got to face Alabama this afternoon to try not to go 2 in barbecue, right? And that's the Jim Schlossnagle challenge, is he can get guys to Omaha all the time, but can he finally ever get over that hump and actually win a national championship? Texas has to go kind of the long route to try and get there now. And then Georgia playing a really fun team this evening in Oklahoma, who just cannot lose, right? They just have been on fire since that walk-off win against Georgia Tech. And so that'll be a really interesting matchup as well on the second bracket side of things. But overall, I think it's kind of broken the way everybody anticipated at this point.
So West Virginia, they play Tuesday tomorrow, and then they would play North Carolina on Wednesday. Is that correct? And how does Steve Sabins manage his arms?
That is correct. So they'll play North Carolina on Wednesday if they get past Troy tomorrow afternoon. And the interesting thing about it is their first game was on Friday. And so you threw Chancellor Cole, who didn't go very long into that game, didn't get out of the third inning. So he only threw 50-ish, 55-ish pitches. So he's probably going to be available tomorrow unless you want to hold him for Wednesday. Ian Korn, similar thing, threw, I think, 70 pitches, went 6 innings, was great, but is now on 3.5 days rest. So you can probably go to him whenever you want in the next few days. You haven't thrown Dawson Montesa. You haven't thrown Carson Estridge, right? Reese Bassinger just threw an inning last night. So he's probably good to go by Tuesday as well. Really, the only guy that probably can't go on Tuesday is Max Yale. And you're probably hoping that you don't need him again until a Thursday Game 7 kind of situation. So I think the arms set up really well for West Virginia. I think they get past Troy to get to that North Carolina matchup, and I think it's going to be a great game on Wednesday as well.
What is the path, essentially, for West Virginia to take two from North Carolina? Where do you see, like, West Virginia was close here. You guys talked about the errors. What has to happen for West Virginia to steal back-to-back?
The defensive issues need to go away. That's the first thing. You can't give a team like North Carolina extra outs. They're going to take advantage of it almost every time. And then you have to come up big when you've got runners in scoring position. You know, there were a couple instances in last night's game where they got a runner to second, couldn't get him over to third or get him home. And that's not what we've typically seen from this West Virginia team throughout the season. They've been really good executing in those moments. And what North Carolina really kind of held them at bay. Armani Guzman getting thrown out at third base, I think, swung the momentum back in the Tar Heels' favor when it felt like West Virginia was really starting to figure out the North Carolina starters. So taking advantage of runners in scoring position, executing in those moments, and then executing defensively, I think will be really important.
Jamie, I haven't checked in on the Jello Shot Challenge. How's West Virginia holding up? How are they faring?
As we all expected, they are light years ahead of everybody else. I think Ole Miss was this team in second place, and they're eliminated now, so they're out of the running altogether. I don't know if West Virginia is going to get all the way to that 70,000 record that LSU set a couple years ago, but I think they were over 22,000 by the end of Sunday. So they're hanging in there, right? I think Pat McAfee had a lot to do with that too. I heard he went and wrote a big check over there.
Yeah, the latest tweet I can find, West Virginia was at about 20,000. Ole Miss was at 8,000. Troy was at 3,600. It's not even close. The Mountaineers are doing their thing in Omaha. Jamie, last one for me. Just West Virginia being here on this stage, what does it do for Steve Sabins in the program?
A tremendous amount. I mean, I think this is a validation of the decision that West Virginia's athletic department made to, A, not cut baseball 14 years ago, 15 years ago, whenever that was, when they hired Randy Macy. And then B, to hand the reins to a first-time head coach in Steve Sabins, who had been with West Virginia baseball since he was in his late 20s. This guy has not really known anything other than West Virginia baseball at this point. He's been integral in building that roster up and helping them have success. And now this is a validation of the decision that they made to hand him the reins. And it's a validation of the decision to invest in the program, right? They've got a biomechanics lab now, one of the first ones in the country at the college level. They've got all of these opportunities to invest in the program, both from a recruiting standpoint, a facility standpoint, from a coaching standpoint. And all Steve Sabins has done is said, yes, it's worth it. You know, the fan base has rallied around this program. We saw it for the regional and the super regional in Morgantown. They've been out there in droves, obviously, in Omaha as well. This has done a tremendous amount for Steve Sabins. It's done a tremendous amount of good for West Virginia baseball. And it's really cool to see, because a lot of times I think in the modern era of college athletics, we just focus on the blue bloods. We focus on the teams with, quote unquote, all of the money, all of the media attention. And then a team like West Virginia can come in and break through and remind people why college athletics are so great.
Yeah. What the biomechanics, what is that?
It is a high-tech lab where they do all kinds of analysis on
We talked about
players,
it on
hitting
Friday.
mechanics, pitching mechanics, all this other kind of stuff. I don't know all the details. I'm hoping that this offseason I can get up there and actually get a look at it, and get a little tour of the place. But it is one of those high-tech, innovative kind of situations where they are putting players in the best position to succeed, getting into the really nitty-gritty details of everybody's mechanics.
Man, that's awesome.
Yeah, we
Jamie
talked about it on
Plunkett.
Friday, James. He had a great Saban's had a great clip about it. It's really cool and just shows how innovative college sports can be. And I think, in a world in which we have so many things to complain about with college sports, like this is one of those areas where college sports is really winning in 2026.
Right. That's amazing. Jamie Plunkett, you're the best, Jamie. Appreciate your time.
Thanks, fellas. Have a good one.
Jamie Plunkett, host of Base 12 Sports here on Big 12 today on Big 12 Radio.
Yeah, and on the Rocco's piece, so really interesting. Here, Pat McAfee, he kind of went off on Rocco's last week. Here, take a listen.
I don't know if anybody has really gotten a chance to experience it in the fashion in which I experienced it last night. Rocco's, which is the bar I'm looking at right over here. Okay, it's right over here.
Yep.
It's literally right
On
here.
that corner.
We've seen it from afar on the internet. They sell these shots for $5, Jell-O shots. And we assume they're making in there. Obviously, we appreciate the fact they're doing that.
Sure.
Jell-O shots $5, $1.50 goes to charity, $1 goes to university that purchases it, 50 cents goes, or university's food pantry,
Yep.
50 cents goes to a local food pantry here. $3.50 though goes to Rocco's, which incredible gimmick to kind of publicly force people who are the boosters for other schools to come compete for this at our place. So guy puts out video from Rocco's last week saying West Virginia's coming. That's me in it, at Pat McAfee Show in it. So I was like, cool, I can't wait to go participate in this. I love buying drinks for people.
Yes, you do.
It's like
Kinda your
one of my
thing.
favorite
Yeah.
things to do. Got loans out in college so that I could buy drinks for folks because I want everybody to have a good time. Did feel as if this was going to be a thing. Now, we get there last night, obviously. We were supposed to call ahead to this guy who is the general manager. He was not happy that we did not call ahead. Okay, did not know we were supposed to do that. We've never done this before. West Virginia's never been here. We were just kind of happy to come and do this entire thing. So then I start asking questions. I go, "How's this work? Like, do I write a check?" I brought checks. I brought checks. I have checks with me.
Yeah, prepared.
I have checks with me like this is fucking 1995. I literally brought checks because I assumed that was going to be the thing. I go, so like, do I write checks? The guy goes, yours would bounce, I think. Just kept walking. Wasn't like a joking thing. This is the general manager of the place, the guy that was in the video the entire thing.
All the videos.
So I'm walking behind this guy. Okay, he's not happy we're there. Obviously, we're supposed to give a heads up. I walk in. I go, do I just write a check? Nope. And yours would probably bounce or something. Not a joke. Just keeps walking. I'm like, okay. So actually, how's this work? I'm like,
Yeah, no, seriously.
No, I'm being serious. Like, I'm pretty exhausted. I came here literally to do this, to represent for West Virginia before this thing gets started. How's this work? He goes, card. I go, okay. Well, how'd that guy do $300,000 on it? He's got is there a credit card out there that has a $300,000 limit? That's incredible. I need to, I need to find that. He goes, well, he wrote a check. I'm like, so can I write a check? He goes, no, we'll figure it. And then he like puts us into an area. So then we're like, well, that's not where we're sitting. We're going to sit back here. So we go to a completely different spot. So then as we're sitting there, these boxes of these shots are just kind of being tossed at us. I guess that's kind of what they are. They're pre-made shots, okay?
Yeah.
Which I guess is a good idea, especially whenever there's thousands of them getting created. I've never really been a big Jell-O shot guy. I will say chewing alcohol is something, especially when you got to sucky the entire thing.
Yeah.
But people were buying shots, and it was not like a it was an interesting. It was nowhere near what I thought it was going to be like. I did contribute. I would like to say I didn't see it go up on the video
I was
thing.
going to say, I don't know if the shot board has been up. I just
I did not put up there. I felt obligated to, but it wasn't like. It was very much like you're lucky to be giving us this money to do this entire thing, as opposed to like a celebration. And I think they were treating everybody like that. But we are lucky to be participating.
All right, so there you go. There's McAfee telling the whole story, which this was on Friday's show. Can't imagine this went well for Rocco's. Also, it's important to note that, as he brought it up, like some of the money goes to charity, but $3.50 for every Jell-O shot goes to Rocco's. So they're making very good money on it, and apparently not very nice people about it.
Right. He totally throws him under the bus.
Torched him.
He is big mad.
But rightfully so. Telling him that last week there was rumors that he was going to sign for $60 million a year, and you got the general manager at Rocco's saying, I don't want you to bounce a check. Are you mental?
Read the room. Do your research.
Crazy.
Yikes. All right, let's wrap up the show. Coming up next, a lot to unpack from today. He's Ari, I'm James. This is Big 12 Radio.
Dampier, second down,
Favorite screen. Good blockers out in front of Rutherford and tripped up, much to his angst.
Speed option. Thanks to Hubbard. BYU closing quickly as Tanner Wall, the safety.
Off the play action. Pass complete to C.J. Williams. It's been a long time between drinks of waters for 2nd and 5. Dickey ball left tackle just tripped up as he was trying to get that line to gain. It was Tanner Wall, the safety, making the tackle.
Big 12 today here on Big 12 Radio. We had the consensus today, and the consensus is that Kansas is the 14th best team in the Big 12. Like how I positioned that, the 14th best team in the Big 12.
You didn't really fight back on that either. You didn't really provide much resistance.
I'll be honest, as we went through it, I thought, I've got Kansas too high. That's my immediate thought. I was like, they do have a lot of question marks. Why am I so high on Kansas?
So
I'd like to revise my list.
We'll see if, well, that's what we're doing here with the consensus. So we've got consensus-wise, 16 is is Cincinnati, 15 is Iowa State, Kansas is 14. So we'll see if we can come to a consensus tomorrow.
And as we were diving in, the more I looked at Baylor, I thought, this could maybe work. Like, Clanderman, that's all he's done.
Right.
Is turn defenses around. And again, they were top 10 offensively last year. Like, they don't need to be a top 25 defense. They need to be a top 50 defense. K-State was top 30 each of his 5 years as the defensive coordinator. And then I think some of their portal additions, the chemistry is a huge question mark. But where is it not in the Big 12? Like, yeah, BYU's got everybody back, but outside of that, there's a ton of question marks in terms of, are the portal guys going to hit? So, yeah, I didn't push back much.
Yeah, and we'll see, again, if we could find consensus when it comes to number 13, because I'm pretty sure I don't have Baylor at 13.
I don't have Kansas at 13.
Interesting. So I guess we'll find out tomorrow if we can get consensus on 13 and how that all works.
Taman, is this the spot that we have the same team?
No.
Oh.
Not even close.
Not even
close. Close. It's going to be on tomorrow. All right. So I've been getting hit really hard with a lot of spam emails.
Oh, yeah. And calls and texts.
I went from getting no calls to getting probably 8 a day. Like whatever Apple was doing filter-wise, they were crushing it. No calls. Now.
Problem is sometimes they're even limiting calls that I should be getting.
That is a bit of an issue. Been down that road too. Where was I going with this?
Spam emails.
Oh, yeah, spam emails. Thank you. So one just popped in. I thought, this looks interesting. The best college towns in America.
Oh.
I'll give you $100 if you can tell me what college is in this town.
The number
Don't
one
cheat.
The number one
Don't
college town
cheat.
in America.
Don't cheat. Don't click the link. Get out of there.
Who's it from, though?
What do you mean, who's it from? The list?
Yeah, who's listing
the Discoverer blog. I don't know how they got my email. I've never heard of them. I'm not a frequent traveler to the discovererblog.com.
Are you sure about that?
Pretty sure.
Okay.
All right. Taman, you can't play because I think you're going to know it. Ithaca, New York.
Okay.
Big college town.
Yeah, oh yeah. Ithaca College and Cornell.
Cornell. All right. Nicely done. Didn't think you'd get that one. Okay.
Please. Come on. Basically, encyclopedia for knowledge about Ithaca, New York.
All right. I had one other that I kind of.
So wait, Ithaca, New York was the number one.
I don't even know if these are in order. It's not a very well-run blog. They must have heard that I stayed at the Timeless Tides this weekend and thought that guy is a blog reader. The other one is Wellesley, Massachusetts.
Wellesley, Massachusetts.
Or Swellesley, Massachusetts.
Okay. Sounds Swellesley.
What the doesn't even say what college is there. Do you know, Taman?
I believe it's Wesleyan University.
How can it be a college town and they don't have the college listed? Doesn't even make it make sense, Taman.
I don't know.
So why did you?
All right.
Why'd you bring this up?
Because there's some Big 12 colleges.
Oh, got it.
It is Wellesley College. Wellesley College. It's not cheap. All right, so the Big
Wellesley College.
What Big 12 towns do you think are on this list?
Lawrence, Kansas. Stillwater, Oklahoma. Ames, Iowa.
Do you even Big 12? All right, Ames,
Those
Iowa.
are Big 12 towns, yes?
Ames, Iowa. We've got a hit.
Lawrence,
Ames,
Kansas isn't on this list?
No. Top
well,
10
if you've
college
got
towns in
Wellesley,
America.
Massachusetts, and not Lawrence, Kansas out here,
I'm
you must
gonna
be smoking something.
Email this lady and say, what do you get? Boulder, Colorado.
Email them back and say, hey, we're never going to have anybody on to promote this list, but what kind of a drunken...
And I am unsubscribing.
Cocaine-induced list is this?
I'm unsubscribing. You know who
also,
I think gave him my email?
You got to find out the characteristics that they came up with this list, right? Like, how'd you measure this? What was the scientific method you used to decide which college town should be included here or not.
Well, Boulder, Colorado, visitors can enjoy spectacular hiking year-round.
Oh, is there hiking
Ski
opportunities in Boulder, Colorado? I wasn't aware of
winter,
that.
And city pursuits year-round. There's also the Colorado Music Festival. Okay. The Polar Bear Plunge brings out the crowds on New Year's Day. I think there was one other. No, that's it.
Yeah, but why do I need that for a college town?
Are
They're
those
just
the top two college towns in the Big 12?
Boulder and Ames.
Yeah.
I mean, quite frankly, you and I probably need to do a tour. We need to probably go to all 16 Big 12 campuses. Now, you've been to how many of them?
All of them, except
all of them,
except Tucson.
Well, then you are the person to be ranking this.
I've not been to Tucson.
But here's the thing about you: you don't really get to experience these towns. You're experiencing their hotels. So you could probably tell us what each of these towns look like from the four walls that you get to see in your hotel room.
I judge the college town based off of what is within walking proximity to my hotel. Because remember, I had that whole driver's license fiasco. I couldn't rent a car for like half the season.
Oh yeah, that was it.
And
that was what kept you from driving.
That's it. And then I found, you know what? I don't need to rent a car. It is much easier to just pop around on foot.
Then I
via
found
Uber.
out I don't need to rent a car. I don't even go anywhere when I go into these towns.
Let me tell you about Tempe, okay? Hey, I get out and about, okay? Again, whatever is within walking distance. You know who has an underrated setup is Cincinnati.
Okay.
They have a very nice stadium.
I'm not. You're looking at me like I'm going to disagree with you here. You're the one. You're the credible one here on this.
But man, the Big 12 has fantastic college towns. It's hard to rank them all because they're all really unique in their own way. Now, I haven't been to Ames, Iowa in probably 20 years, though, so I don't even know if that counts. That is one place that I would really like to go back. Are you with me?
I think you'll get a chance to do that this year.
Have you been to Ames?
No, never. I've been to Manhattan. I've been to Stillwater. I've been to Waco. Been to Lawrence, obviously. I've been to Tempe, but it was years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's it.
I haven't been to Provo.
Been to Houston, but not to the campus of the University of Houston. I've been to TCU.
Yes, okay.
I think that's about it.
I mean, you're pretty qualified.
Pretty.
I'd say you're pretty qualified.
Been to Salt Lake City,
But
but
yeah,
never been to the campus of Utah.
Every town is a really unique thing that stands out to me. Like
Been to Orlando, never been to the campus of UCF. Sorry, I'm just talking my own.
It's all right. I'm here for it.
Good.
I'm a good listener. That's my number one strength. I listen to you mid-show. I'm not on Amazon looking for throw pillows.
Are you?
No, I'm not. I'm on the Discover.com.
I bought throw pillows months ago, okay?
I don't know why that popped out of my brain.
Bought them on Etsy, not Amazon.
Oh.
Get with the program.
Houston would be an easy trip for us. We need to make that one.
Yeah.
Because the campus is like its own little city.
I'm too busy buying throw pillows, James. I can't be going to Houston with you.
Don't have time for that. All right. My kids on our weekend vacay wanted to get henna tattoos.
Okay.
This tells you everything you need to know about what we were working with.
Isn't that so? You were traveling with your older daughter. She was probably the one encouraging the henna tattoos. The boys were like, "I'm all in now."
Actually, he was the youngest.
Oh.
Yeah, it was his idea. We
Knew
thought, you know
about
what? I'm here for it.
Knew about the henna
He
tattoos.
just walked by and he said, "Can I get one of those?" There's just walls of decals and different tattoos you can get.
Pretty sure that kid turns 18, he's getting multiple tattoos the day it happens.
He's already said he wants like a full body, like arm sleeve, but your entire. He's going to be that guy. Okay, it's not going to be an inch of skin.
And you've got a tattoo that says "Bad Boys for Life" on your
It's actually
right shoulder.
lower back. That's where I put it.
Is that what you have? Or you've got the barbed wire tattoo.
Yeah, only God can judge me. It's another favorite of mine. But so, like, my daughter gets like some waves on her wrist. That's cool. The other one gets like basketball with some wings. The third child gets up there.
The one that's gonna get tattoos the day he turns 18.
Oh well, he got like the world's largest tattoo on an 8-year-old arm of the Grim Reaper. So we spent the rest of our weekend gallivanting around town with that.
With the Grim Reaper on the 8-year-old's
plastered on his arm.
Anybody wonder, like,
Couldn't have been more proud.
Is that real or?
He said, "I think he's holding a book." I said, "It's a blade." That's it. Death,
Yeah,
it does come for us all.
The Grim Reaper doesn't read, I guess. Little known fact about the Grim Reaper, he's not as well read as you would have expected.
Thousands of tattoo options. That's what he chose.
What other morbid tattoo options could he have chosen?
Morbid? There were aplenty.
Yeah.
They had a whole binder of morbid stuff
That would've
he
been-
seemed to gravitate towards. I thought, should we flag this?
Should we?
This could be a problem.
Should
down
we
the
flag
road.
this?
I think so.
You didn't. Nobody stepped in to be like, hey, maybe like Sunshine and Rainbows.
Nope. When he gets it, it's not worth the fight.
Yeah.
It's not worth the fight.
I tend to think it is.
You just go all in.
I mean,
I've seen you quiet yelling at your kids. I like that approach, by the way.
Oh yeah, quiet yelling.
yell is the best.
Non-quiet yelling. It's all part of it. Yeah. Sometimes you gotta be a parent. You know. Sometimes you can't just be a friend.
No, you can't do that.
No.
Can't do that. We're not all buddy-buddy.
So congratulations to Jalen Brunson winning an NBA championship. Jalen Brunson was a second-round pick of the Dallas Mavericks after he absolutely destroyed Kansas in the Final Four for Villanova.
Taman,
along
how
with
does that
Mikal
make you
Bridges.
I am very happy for Jalen Brunson.
But did you hear the clip from Jalen? He was asked about Texas. Did you hear this one?
No, let's hear it.
Do we have this clip? Here's Jalen Brunson asked about if he misses Texas.
I have nothing against Texas. I love Texas. I miss the Texas taxes.
Spoiler alert, there aren't any.
So I did a little bit of research on this. Jalen Brunson lives in Westchester as a resident, so he faces approximately a 10.3% state income taxes, plus a 3.8% New York City tax. Plus, remember, every NBA player has to pay state income taxes in every state they play in that has state income taxes. So, I mean, like, that's significant. Think about that. Every single – now, look, Jalen Brunson's making good money, okay? But 10% of every check that he makes goes right back to Westchester County. And then another 3.8% goes right back to New York City. That is wild.
That's a lot of coin.
That is a lot of money.
He signed, what, like a $250 million extension a couple years ago?
Yeah.
It was 4-year, $156.6 million.
So 10% of that immediately. Boom. State of New York gets that.
Man,
Yeah.
they're making bank.
I know.
Taxes.
Unreal.
Dolphins don't pay taxes. All right, I would tell you what we're going to do tomorrow, but I just threw my computer mouse across the floor. My computer shut down.
Why don't Dolphins pay taxes?
They just
Maybe they should.
Dolphins also don't sleep.
Damn
Did I
freeloaders.
tell you about that? They sleep with one eye open.
Well, maybe we should be using them now because they use our tax dollars. We might as well use them to help us.
They only shut down half their brain. They're always operating.
Interesting.
Some capacity. All right, he's already Tim Kidd. I'm
Sounds like
James
you.
Westlane. That's T-Chains is our audio producer. Anthony Smith is behind the camera for Big 12 Studios. We're back tomorrow, 8 to 11 Eastern sharp, right here on Big 12 Radio. We're out.